What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise postgame show presented by BetOnline. The Blazers today take another L, this time to the Boston Celtics, 126-112. The Celtics, one of the best teams in the league, came into Portland and showed Blazer fans why that is, but Portland did put up a late fight, got this game somewhat close. Another big game from Dame in his pursuit for the scoring title, and we'll have the entire breakdown of this game and some other conversations in this post-game show. But first, this post-game show is presented by BetOnline. Use the promo code BELIEVE for a 50% reward bonus. March Madness continues. First round was yesterday and today. It was very entertaining, and you can get in on that entertainment with that promo code BELIEVE. Also, NBA playoffs coming up, and baseball starts in less than 2 weeks. So if you want to make baseball fun, you can use that promo code and use it over at BetOnline. Okay, Eric, what's going on, man?
Not much, just finishing up circling my brackets.
Yeah, I forgot to actually write mine out, which I normally love to do. And I need to just write it out, even though it's already past the first round. But yeah, been an entertaining day of basketball. I've been watching basketball since like 9:30 in the morning.
2 straight days, it's always nice.
Yeah. And then I'll be watching it almost all day tomorrow and Sunday, and getting my fix of basketball. And it's fun to actually like root for some teams to win. That's a fun experience that is not familiar to me anymore, because I've been rooting for these Blazers to lose, and they lose today, which is a good thing because they currently have a 9% chance at their savior. Hopefully you guys enjoy the thumbnail tags as I try and get creative with these losses.
Game clear of 7th now, which is very nice.
Beautiful scenes, because the Pacers just won. Blazers still maybe have an outside chance of catching Orlando, but they probably have to lose like every game the rest of the way. They are 3 games back of Orlando. Would have been oh man, if we had lost that game to Orlando, Eric, we'd be 1 game back of them and 2 games clear. 7th?
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to look back at that game like, dang.
Yeah, that's all right.
Would give us a 5% greater chance at top 4 and a 1.5% greater chance at number 1. So maybe not a big difference there.
We'll see what team actually moves up, because if we stay in 6th, then we move up, and then we're going to be happy we won that game, you know?
Yeah, but also butterfly effect. You know, if it's like our numbers, then they're probably automatically cursed, and we move down no matter where we are, right? So
I don't know. We have a history of getting the number 1 pick, just not doing well with it.
Yeah, but I believe in the butterfly effect. Like, if we're in a different spot, the lottery isn't going to go the same way. So that's how I look at it. You know, got to try and get the best odds possible. That's within this team's control right now.
And speaking of the tank race, we have Jack M with the $2 donation. Thank you, Jack. Go Bulls and Magic. Hope all is well, fellas. Thank you so much. Yeah,
yep,
go Bulls and Magic.
Thank you, Jack, for the $2 dono. Appreciate you.
Smog had a member for 26 months message. Thank you, Smog, for being a member. Brick for Vic. What's his member message?
Brick for Vic. Brick for Vic. Or play no defense for Vic. I don't know. If there's a way you guys can come up with a rhyme with Vic or Victor or Wemby or Wenbanyama, one of those nicknames with something to do with 0 defense, it would make more sense for us, because we don't really brick, we just play no D. So maybe we can come up with a more Blazers-centric tanking tag. Anyway.
Just trying to think of one, yeah.
Yeah. Chat, if you have one. No D for Wemby is probably the... It kind of works. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, this game...
Murray's shouting, quote me, because he's saying next year Dame to Wemby lob on the Cavaliers for the win. What?
We're going to beat the Cavaliers with a lob from Dame to Wemby.
Oh, okay. On the Cavaliers. I thought he meant like Dame and Wemby were going to be
he might have.
On the Cavs somehow lobbing it. Like we're going to trade number 1 and Dame for what?
Yeah, for their entire team.
Yeah.
Still wouldn't do it. Yeah. I don't know. He might have meant that. Anyway, chat, you guys are going to be what makes the stream fun, because obviously these losses are getting kind of redundant at this point, and we'll talk a little bit March Madness and that sort of thing. But we should recap the game a little bit. I like that there's only 12 games left of this. It's not a whole tank marathon like we had last season.
30 games, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know how we manage that, but we can talk about some prospects, I guess. There's less prospects playing in March Madness, but...
Yeah. Opal's pretty confident in the Blazers getting Wemby. He's going to pre-order his Wemby PDX jersey.
Wow.
And Jack M, another $2 donation. Thank you, Jack. Lose mañana for Wembanyama. That only works
Lose
on...
mañana.
Mañana means tomorrow in Spanish.
Lose mañana.
But we don't play tomorrow, so you can only say it when we play the next day. So, like, tomorrow night, we can all scream "Lose mañana" for Wembanyama.
But Wemby is French, so you got to come up with a word in French instead of Spanish. And by the way, I told my mom, because my mom took a little bit of French in college, I believe. I don't know. She knew a little bit of French. I told my mom, yeah, there's a 7'5" guy that if we get, I'm going to have to learn French. So, yeah, that's the deal. In case you didn't know, if we get Victor Wembanyama, I'm going to try and learn French. I'm not going to become fluent. I don't have the mental capacity for that probably, but going to try to learn a little bit.
I know oui and bonjour.
Yeah.
But neither of those rhyme with Wembanyama or Wemby.
Yeah, so if we have anybody in here that speaks French, let me know if you can come up with a French motto for Wemby that I can say and be proud of myself for knowing a couple words in a different language. Anyway.
9% chance for the kid from France. Let's go.
I like that.
I just thought of it.
Yeah.
Didn't even get any help.
And it works for no matter what percentage chance we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could just update it as we move up or down the standings.
Exactly. Let's get 14% chance at the kid from France. Just kidding.
I don't think
that's impossible. We're 13 games out, so with 12 games left. Top 4 is impossible, but 5th still have an outside shot. Eric is going to be going into the offseason with 6th place lottery odds again, most likely. So let's talk about the talk that like 5 or 6 games from now, including the Celtics game, because this happened before this game. Chris Haynes had a report that said, if the Blazers aren't able to make headway, I'm paraphrasing, but if the Blazers aren't able to make headway in the next 5 or 6 games, then they'll look to shut down Dame after that for the rest of the year. Yeah. And the Blazers aren't going to make headway in 5 or 6 games. So if you enjoy watching Damian Lillard play basketball, enjoy the next 5 games or so, because I would expect him to get shut down at some point. The upcoming 4 or 5 games are winnable, and this team would go on like a 4-game winning streak. They got the Clippers, Jazz, Bulls, and Thunder. That Bulls game is going to be big because there still is a chance they could pass us in the lotto race. And OKC's actually 500 now. They're 34 and 36. So we're 3 games clear of them in the tank race, which is kind of insane to say, but could never rule it out. So we'll see. But what were your thoughts on that news today?
It wasn't surprising given that other thing we talked about yesterday about Dame being asked in New Orleans to sit out. So very clearly this team wants to tank. This organization wants to tank. It's been obvious with all their moves this season, during the season, at the trade deadline, after the trade deadline, not addressing any of their holes in the buyout market. So they do not care about winning this year, and but they could not find it in their heart to make Dame tank or sit out in a season in which he's having his best season ever. So they talked to him about it. He wanted to go for the playoffs as long as it was still realistic, and it's not his fault. Like, I don't blame him for that, obviously, but I think Dame at some point realizes you can't just keep saying, "Oh, we're only 3 games back. We're only 3 games back." If you're not winning these games, it's not going to matter. You're running out of time. So, we can definitely see a scenario where we don't win. Even if he plays the next 4 games after this, we don't win any of them. And then he's like, okay, we gave it a shot. We let you try it. But they're not giving him any help to do it. And Grant was out again tonight, and Oz ends up being a late scratch due to an illness. And yeah, I just think that that's the correct decision to shut him down because, as I mentioned before, too, knock on wood, him getting injured seriously to cut into his preparation for next season, or for heaven forbid, cutting into games actually for next season. Like that would be the worst case scenario right now as these games become meaningless.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Once they shut him down, it's going to be a little sad just because he's playing at such a high level, man. It's starting to really just sink in that we really have wasted arguably the greatest statistical season in Blazer history. You know what I mean? It's like, that's been obvious, but it's just starting to really hit me. Like, and we're in a position going into the offseason where it's an offseason of uncertainty with low confidence in this front office, man. It's just very murky water right now. This is the first time Dame's been healthy for the majority of a season and missed the playoffs since his rookie year. It only happened one other time, and that was with J.J. Hickson at center. And of course, the next season they come out, make the second round, had a 17-3, 17-4 start to that season. So hopefully the follow-up season after this is much better. But oh man, this is just reality's tough right now for this team. They are doing the right thing and losing these games. If they get lucky, it could turn real sweet a couple months from now, but it's a tough situation.
The question for me is, so Dame openly talked about a week ago about being unhappy or like being fine that they couldn't get stuff done in the past, but is expecting that not to be an excuse this summer, right?
Yeah.
In terms of making a big splash and finally getting a piece in a trade that we're like, oh, okay, now we're definitely going for it, right? So the thing is, were we just telling him that? Like, are they just kicking the can down the road with him, and then this summer they're going to be like, oh, sorry, we can't do that? Or are they serious about doing it this summer? Because I'm still worried that we're at some point going to be like, oh, sorry, Dame, we're not doing that, and and I'm gonna be mad if they've been just like stringing them along like they seem to be trying to tell fans. It's the same thing with Neil Olshey for years. It's always like next trade deadline, next offseason, this trade exception, this and that is all going to be valuable, and then it never ends up happening. So that's where my frustration would be. And like, if I'm Dame, I'm mad that the organization decided to give up on the season at the time. And I don't blame him at all for putting pressure on them to have to get something done to make it up to him.
Yeah, I mean, this organization is in a better spot to make a potential all-in move this offseason than they have been in probably many off seasons, because I think Anthony Simons has more trade value to a team looking to retool, rebuild than CJ McCollum did, because he's 23 years of age and he's on a cheaper contract while the salary cap's going to go up. And then Shaden Sharp's a piece, and another top 10 lottery pick in a loaded draft this year, plus another first in this draft, plus potentially future first, depending on how we handle the pick that the Blazers owe Chicago. That's quite a stockpile of assets. Obviously, it comes down to you have to then match salary and all that, but I do think they are in a better position, especially with this pick getting higher, and I think Dame knows that.
Yeah.
So he's not dumb. He's confident in his guys, and he's super competitive. So he wants to try and drag this team to the playoffs because he thinks if they get there, he can, will this team to wins, like he's not going to count out him or his guys, even if his guys aren't good enough for him and the team to get the job done. That's just the way he's wired, and I wouldn't want him to be wired differently. You know what I mean? But at some point, reality sets in. This team isn't good enough, and it's going to go into the offseason, and I guarantee you he's going to be dreaming about playing next to Victor Wembanyama. He's already raved a bit about Victor Wembanyama earlier in the season. He did an interview and was asked about him, and he said, and this was when the Blazers were winning, so he said, well, luckily I'm not going to be in the league much longer once he gets here because he's going to be a problem or something like that. But wouldn't it be ironic if they ended up on the same team together and then, it's the opposite, actually. He wants to be here because you got this freak. I mean, that's the dream. That's the dream. But I do think they do have a better stockpile of assets, whether they move up or not.
Yep. Until we trade that Knicks pick to get to dump Nurkic's salary, right?
Okay, so, oh God, do you want?
I want to tee you up for that.
Do you want to tee me up for that? Okay,
go ahead, dude.
Okay. Let me just say this. I do want to recap this game a little bit, but what I want to do to recap this game, Eric, is just go through, and I can share my screen with you. I want to go through every defensive possession that we had and just say, like, who's to blame for it breaking down. Every bad defensive possession we had. And just, like, kind of take a tally, a mental tally, and just go through those possessions. And just kind of get a good analysis of who is really struggling defensively today. Because I did watch this game, but I was also watching a couple March Madness games. I do think that would be something to do over the next even 4 or 5 games. NBA.com, I don't think, has the videos available yet for our defensive possessions, so I'm waiting on that. Do you want to do that? Sound like a good idea?
Yeah.
We can count that as our game recap. I know it will be like pulling teeth.
Boring for chat when they can't see the plays.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I could show chat the plays. But chat, do you want us to do that later? Yes or no? I'll do a poll.
Hyper Prime with a member for 16-month message says, dang it, Jody, I hate seeing Dame go through this. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Anyway, chat, there's your chat poll, and that's based on us just going through every defensive possession, saying if we think it's whose fault we think it is, that sort of thing. So you guys control this show. We try and make it entertaining for you guys. At this point, we're entertainers as much as people who break down basketball because the basketball is awful. 34 votes. We got 72% saying yes.
Also, truly Spencer PDX as member for 4 months. Thank you, Spencer PDX. Do you think Dame will look as good next year?
I'm not going to say otherwise until he starts showing decline.
Right.
Because he had a slump earlier this season, and there was a bunch of people saying, oh, he's lost a step, he's washed, blah, blah, blah. Even after the first game, Bill Simmons was saying, Dame lost a step, and then he came out the next game and had like 40. Right? So until he shows signs of decline for like a multiple month period, I'm not going to bet on him not being as good as he is. My answer to that would be no, not yet.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is, at some point he is going to start to slow down a little bit due to age. I don't know if that happens next year or not, but, it's hard to imagine. I guess it's not hard to imagine now that everyone averages 30 points. That's good. But, it's hard to imagine that the scoring at some point they might, put in a rule or something that lends to defenses being able to play a little bit better defense and stop some of these scorers from putting up so many points every game. But short of that, at some point too, I think he does need to have better teammates where he doesn't have to score as much. So that might be a thing too. But other than that, yeah, I don't see him like breaking down or anything or being much less than what he is. Just maybe a little less numbers, but same efficiency. Yeah. I'm not going to bet on any sort of decline. I think he's in his prime right now. Mm-hmm. But you teed me up for something. Okay. You guys want me to be negative? Because you guys know. It's not necessarily negative. It's just like.
Well, I'm going to be negative on this article.
Don't just like. Okay, I just want to preface this by saying, totally fair if you want to move on from Nurkic and you want to do something to bring in another center to replace him or whatever. totally fine, right? But like the way this article was presented is just beyond egregious for how bad our offseason would be if it started with a move like this.
Yeah, so there's an article, and I'll give them their credit, Rip City Project, who, like, Rip City Project is never the same people. Like, they rotate who runs the site. I don't think they rotate them on purpose. It just changes all the time, right? So there's this article. And basically the article was about how the Blazers need to attach the New York Knicks first-round pick that we got in the Josh Hart trade to Nurkic to simply cap dump him. So giving up a first-round pick with Nurkic to cap dump him was an idea put forth in this Rip City Project article. And the season's not over yet, Eric, but I am preparing mentally for more stuff like this. Because we're going to hear a bunch of stuff like this in the offseason. Stuff that just makes absolutely no sense. So, I had a tweet about this. Shout out if you follow me on Twitter. I had a tweet about this. It makes no sense to give up a first-round pick to dump our only legitimate center. Because it wouldn't give us anything. It wouldn't give us cap space. If only the only thing is like maybe we can resign both Matisse Thybulle and Cam Reddish and stay out of the tax, but it's like we don't need more wings. We need bigs. We need to balance the roster. We have one legitimate center right now, and I know he has his flaws, but at least he's a big body. You know, at least he can rebound. He's not Trent Watford. He's not Drew Eubanks. Okay, so we give up an asset to dump him, even though dumping him accomplishes nothing, and then we have to replace him. So how does that make any sense? And it's like, if that happened, and I was thinking about this, if that happened, there would be people out there that would give Joe Cronin props. Joe Cronin's biggest fans would give him props for dumping his contract with the Knicks first-round pick, even though only a year ago, less than a year ago, Joe Cronin gave Yusuf Nurkic his contract. So that would be a horrible sequence of GM moves to give a guy a contract and then a year later attach an asset to get rid of it. Like, that's how you basically become the Sacramento Kings, while the Sacramento Kings become what the Portland Trail Blazers have been, which is a perennial playoff team. At least making playoff appearances, right? Maybe more, because they're, second right now? So if you want to switch places with the Kings, that'd be a great idea in order to accomplish that. I just don't understand how people watch this team for the past month and are thinking that we should run that back because you're giving up an asset in order to get rid of the one legitimate big, and you also lose that matching salary in trades, so it makes it harder to make trades.
That's like a huge one because we don't really have many contracts to match salaries, so that's the biggest thing to me is like you don't want to salary dump a contract that you might need, and then you can't trade 5 first if Embiid comes available. Like you can't trade 5 first to get him, which is dumb. But the real dumb reason is 3 people have mentioned it in chat, so shout out to you if you have said this, because it's exactly what I was going to say. We trade that Knicks pick, and let's just say that's Derek Lively, or Derek Lively is on the board, right? Or like a center of his caliber that we trade and then don't have. That's the way to get off of Nurk eventually, is getting a center on your roster that it becomes better than him in a year or two. Or at least
similar and cheaper because he's on a rookie contract.
And so there's no reason why we can't have 2 legit centers and have, Nurk and a backup center that can come in and do a lot of the things he can and maybe be a better defender, better rim runner, better lob threat, all that kind of stuff that Nurk struggles with at times. And, but like we're basically dumping both Nurkic and our opportunity to get a better center and develop him and have a legit backup center unlike this year. So like we're not only trading Nurk and his contract and getting rid of that matching salary and all that, but we're also trying to get rid of one of our avenues we have of actually improving the roster overall in the future. And just crazy to me. I understand if we make this trade for someone, like if they really like Miles Turner, and they give up Nurk in that first and maybe some other asset to do it, and it's not like a huge overpay. I can understand the thinking, but just like straight out salary dumping them is ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous. So I had a particular problem with this article, and I'm criticizing content here, right? It's not personal to the guy who wrote it, but it is some constructive criticism, just like I've gotten tons and tons of criticism in my career, right? There's a couple quotes in this. One of them was, at the end of this article, it basically explained, like, oh, they should cap dump Nurkic to the San Antonio Spurs, and, like, if the Spurs get Wemby, then Nurkic could fit well next to him, and blah, 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 right? And at the end, their justification for it was summed up in one sentence, or two sentences. The first sentence said, removing Nurkic from the books would open up new avenues for Cronin and the Blazers to build a team to compete now. It went into no further depth on what it would open up in terms of new avenues to help the Blazers build a team to compete now. Like, it's just one of those sentences that sounds good, right? And you can pitch to people who don't know any better, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, it frees up salary. So, they think that equals cap space or whatever. It's if you're going to come out with an article like this with such a bold idea, you should probably explain it avenues and then not expanding upon what those avenues are, because either you had new avenues in your mind and you just didn't feel like writing about them, or you're just saying it because it sounds good and you don't actually know what it opened up and you're just saying this because it'll get attention. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like, which one's the case. That's the problem with this specific article. And then there's a second sentence that says, using a second first-round pick would likely keep the Blazers handcuffed to the future where they do not want to be while Lillard is still one of the best guards in the NBA. What? So basically...
Trading Nurkic and a first for nothing.
Yeah.
Wait, how does that help us help Dame or more than having Nurkic and a first?
It makes no sense. It's like... there's nothing wrong with using 2 first-round picks and trying to win now. The Pelicans used 2 first-round picks in the same draft on Trey Murphy III and Herb Jones. Guess what? In their second season, and shoot, even a little bit in their rookie seasons, Herb Jones more than Trey Murphy, but Trey Murphy is becoming a really good player right now in his second year. Those guys are helping them compete or be competitive. You know how awesome it would be to have those 2 guys as forwards? We'd be a much better team right now. They're second-year players. One of them was a second-round pick, too. So you're talking about 2 higher picks than where those guys were drafted in a supposedly deeper draft. But having 2 first-round picks means that you're not trying to win now. It's too much youth on the team. But also, it's like, okay, well, why don't you trade that first-round pick for something better to make the team better now then? Like, it doesn't make sense to dump a starter with a pick to try and be more competitive now, because it never explained what avenues it would open up. And then you're left with nothing. It's like, it basically ends up with getting Dame less help because using 2 firsts means too much youth, is what he's saying. So I just thought that was a ridiculous article.
We're also basing this off of Sharp, who was, whether you think that was a good pick or not, he was one of the least ready, most mysterious players in the draft. So, like, you don't have to always draft that route. You know what I mean? Like, you can draft a player that can help more quickly than that. And Sharp's actually contributed a little bit this year. So, I don't know. Like there, it seems, because I saw that a lot of that on Twitter, like, oh, so we can get another Sharp in this draft, well, no, it's not always the same player. And in this particular draft, there are some forwards and bigs that could help us at both spots that we could potentially be drafting. And so I'd much rather swing with that than just use them to have no cap space still and I guess if we salary dumped Nurk and didn't re-sign Grant, we'd have cap space.
Yeah. For what? Who do we ever sign? We're Portland, you know? That's the
Yeah,
thing. It's like,
Vucevic or something like these are
that's the
free.
thing. It's like, that is silly no matter if you like Nurkic or not. No matter if you like Nurkic or not. Because you could potentially draft his replacement with that. So that's the thing is, like, there's a lot of fans of this fan base where it's like, I don't like this player on our team. We need to get rid of him. And that's the end of their thought process. So there's people out there that'll see this article and be like, yeah, let's attach a first to get rid of him. We need to win now anyway, and it's a first round pick, so who cares? We need to get rid of Nurkic because he's bad. It's just very simplistic, and it's just not how this stuff works. And I guess the reason why it's a little bit frustrating for me is we try and break down the rationale behind every idea or preference that we have in regards to this team and organization making moves.
Down
That
to
way,
the follow-up move.
Yeah.
If you make that kind of move.
yeah, down to the trade exception it would create and what players could be gotten with said trade exception, or how it affects our future picks or that sort of thing, right? Like, and we do that so that hopefully when this team does make moves, A, you guys understand what's going on. B, you understand where we're coming from when we try and explain usually why we don't like it. But then there's always a ton of stuff every offseason that is just so out there, and it becomes a big part of the discourse, and it just is a little frustrating, a little annoying. So that was just an article I saw out there. When it comes to the offseason, it's about how do we add to the team, not how do we subtract. And if you really think subtracting something makes the team better, you're going to have a really good justification as to how. Because in Portland, most of the time, trading an asset to get rid of a player is not going to end up being better for the team. It might be better for Jody Allen's pocketbooks, but most of the time it's not going to open up something that's better for the team because we never sign free agents. We're not going to have cap space. Grant's extension, Dame, and Ant is already $100 million. That's not counting anything else. That's not counting our first round pick plus Sharp plus Little plus minimums for the rest of the roster spots. That eats up literally all our cap space this offseason. So I don't know. Like this organization needs obviously to swing if it's there. And we talk about that. We've talked about hopefully Philadelphia loses so the Blazers could maybe go get Joel Embiid. Or hopefully Milwaukee somehow loses so that maybe Giannis truly acts on his want to play with Dame because there's been a report that he wants to play with Dame, right? Like all this stuff is way out there, so they need to have a good backup plan. They need to have, multiple contingency plans so they're not caught there panicking like, oh, we got to do something. Let's trade all our assets for Mikal Bridges and then pigeonhole ourselves into a team that's in the playoffs but not good enough to contend. And moves like these are just short-sighted, and it's just funny when because that's normally how it goes is, oh, well, trading his contract out opens up more money, but people never accurately describe what that would accomplish in the long run.
Yep. Well, I had someone arguing with me 2 days ago that we should let Grant, Reddish, Thibault, all our free agents walk so that we can have cap space to attach to Nurkic's contract and get a star that way.
Cap space it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that.
Well, I mean, you can get up there, but my thing was, like, if we just had Wiseman or someone like that, we could have traded for that same player with that same amount of cap space that the cap space route would have provided, and we could have kept all our cap holds on all our free agents. So we could have kept Grant and Thibault and Reddish and stuff like that. So you're adding to your team, not completely decimating it just to
Yeah,
maybe trade for a star that has to make under like 35 million or less, or it doesn't work with the salary cap. And yeah, I don't know.
it's just silly because think about it. If we had $30 million of cap space, what would probably be the best case scenario? The best case scenario is there's a free agent out there like Jeremy Grant who we're able to go sign, but we have to overpay in order to get him here to Portland. So we go out there and we sign basically the equivalent of Jeremy Grant. That is the best case scenario in free agency for Portland. Now, maybe if Giannis was a free agent and wanted to play with Dame, maybe, willing to leave Milwaukee, maybe. But he's not. Neither is Joel Embiid. Like, neither is any of these guys. So it's like, how does cap space this offseason help us? How does it help us? Who are we going to go after that's worth doing all this stuff for?
Well, I don't know if you heard Cronin after the trade deadline, but he's confident that they could win free agency battles.
Yeah, I mean, it's just silly. Like, it's just silly. It's just silly.
Happy birthday to Jesse.
Happy birthday, Jesse.
And Gordon had a 20-month member message, says 20 months already. Wow. Shout out to Tori, Eric, and Chad.
Chad?
Yeah, Chad.
Wait, that was Jesse?
No, that was Gordon.
That was Gordon, yeah. Okay. Who's Chad? Doing? I don't get it.
Maybe he's just a big Chad Doing fan.
I saw people saying Chad and Chat, and I didn't understand what it was. Is that Chat's name? Is Chat's name Chad? That's my guess. Probably meant Chat. I saw multiple
meant
Chad,
but he said Chad earlier too, so
Yeah.
that would have had to be two typos from him.
That means Chat. Okay, that means Chat.
Weird.
Oh, you said happy birthday to Jesse. Yeah. I said happy birthday.
Chat sounds like Chad. Okay, cool.
Cool.
So shout out to Chat too /Chad.
Yep. Shout out to y'all. Anyway, what were you saying before that? What was I doing?
I don't know.
I don't know, guys. I don't know. We'll try and prepare you for the off season. I'm not ready though. I have to mentally prepare for this type of stuff because it drives me insane.
I can't wait till we get rid of everyone just to sign Vucevic, and then everyone's mad at him because he's just as average as Nurkic. Yeah. And then we don't have Grant or anybody else either.
Like, Nurkic hasn't played well since coming back from his injury. I get it. Yes, maybe he's a little overpaid. Like, that's a justifiable argument. But there's so much more to it than that. I don't know. It's like, even if we had the equivalent of Nurkic on a minimum contract and we could just take Nurkic's salary down, it's like, what does that open up? Even if it opens up the full mid-level exception, look what we did with the full mid-level exception last offseason. Look what we got hard cap for. For a guy who didn't want to be here, was injured, and then then there's a whole scandal about us hiding his injury that he probably hid from us. Like, that's what we did with our full mid-level exception. So I don't know. At this point, it's just about using your assets effectively and getting the most value possible. If you can't make that big swing, can't trade that pick, use it and try and draft the best possible player with both picks. And if you can do that, then you have a couple role players on cheap contracts, which could make things easier in the future. Then it's easier to use Nurkic as a salary matcher in a trade because you have a good young backup big man.
Both Ethan and Crypto asking about Jimmy Butler in chat. I would love Jimmy Butler, but he makes way too much money, and now we don't have contracts to match. So we're talking about Anthony Nurkic, Sharp, and picks, and stuff. Like, that's probably what it's going to take to get him. And I don't know if Miami's a team that does not trade their players for non-stars. They just regroup with different stars. And so unless we move up and get number 2 or something, I just don't see. But even if we got number 2, we'd have to match. So, like, unless Bam's a part of that too, and we're trading all our roster except for Dame to get Bam and Jimmy, like, I don't understand how we're going to get Jimmy Butler. And that's part of the reason why I get so frustrated when we make moves to not have salary in the summer.
Yep. So we've talked about it a ton. I don't know. Like, I think I have no idea what to expect this offseason, Eric. Like, when we were going to the offseason last time, like, we had an inkling that, okay, Jeremy Grant could be a legitimate option. There is a couple things that I've heard that I can't say, but they're absolutely out there in left field and not going to happen. Like, there's just, like, we better hope Cronin has good backup plans, because he didn't land his plans this past deadline.
Or last offseason.
And his backup plans seem to be like panic moves. His backup plan is Keon Johnson's a first-round value. Okay, that counts as a first-round pick. And Justice Winslow can help this team, and hopefully he can stay healthy. And then, I mean, GP2, that whole debacle. And, I mean, Cam Reddish, Matisse Thybulle, like, we've already talked a lot about this past deadline. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to happen this offseason, because I think the things that they want to do are so unlikely that they're out the window. That's why I'm sitting here praying for Victor Wembanyama, because it'd clear a ton up. Like, not only do I want the dude for content, not only do I want the dude because he'd help out the team a ton, but also I think he's like the one option that could save Cronin from making a panic trade because his main plan doesn't pan out, because then his backup plan is, oh, well, we just use the pick and draft this kid.
Mm-hmm.
Because the alternative is like fourth plus multiple picks plus I don't know what, Ant from Mikal Bridges and like maybe Finney Smith. Guess what? The Blazers aren't contending with that move. They're not. Like, they're not contending with that move. So that's basically probably the backup plan.
Well, we're once again put in a position where if we do move up to like 2, 3, or 4 and want to trade it, it just kind of limits who we can trade, because how awesome would it be to get Mikal but not have to give up Anthony, you know? But if we're talking about like the number 4 pick and Anthony to get Mikal, like, that's tough. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, without Nurkic's salary, you'd have to trade Anthony to get Mikal. I don't know how else you'd do it if you got rid of Nurkic's salary. So, anyway, that's our thoughts on this offseason. We had, what was the percentage on that poll? 63% said they wanted to break down later. That's close to 50-50. We can talk about whatever y'all want us to talk about, but at this point, it's going to be some of the same stuff. What do you want to talk about, Eric? What's on your mind?
Davis says, Billups turned into a bust like Steve Nash. Like, okay, I mean, I've criticized Billups a lot this season. He has not been good, but like tonight, for example, Boston just has a better team, a better roster, a more balanced roster. Like, we're missing Jeremy Grant, one of our starters. Like, what are we supposed to do? I understand Chauncey's not getting the most out of his players and stuff, but like, it's just I don't think like games like this are reason to like be like, oh, Chauncey sucks. Look, he can't even beat the Boston Celtics with Jeremy Grant out, you know? Like, they're one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, like, this team is already coming out that this team wants to tank and have asked Dame to sit and are planning on sitting Dame like 5 games from now if they continue to suck. And we're playing the Celtics, and people are getting mad at Chauncey. Like, I get it. He hasn't been good. In this game, he wasn't good. I don't understand getting mad about it. Because at this point, I don't know, he probably wants to tank because he wants some freaking size, and 7'5" probably seems glorious to him. At a power forward spot, a 7'5" dude, that's probably what he wants, you know? Like, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe he's helping the team tank. I don't even know at this point. He could be. So I'm not going to get mad if he sucks. Like, it is what it is. Now, do I trust him to coach the team next year? Not really. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. The thing is like, the only way Chauncey's a problem as a coach, Eric, if you truly think about it, is if the team and the roster is actually good enough to make some noise. Like, I'm sure, obviously, if the team's not good enough to make some noise, you still need to be able to develop young players and that sort of thing. So if that's a criticism, then yeah, that matters. But otherwise, it's like, if our roster's not good enough to get us anywhere anyways, then him throwing games, like, what does it matter? That's why I haven't been as, like, mad at him.
And tonight, I mean, Sharp didn't play a lot, but he did get 3 fouls in the first half and had to come out. So that was partly because he was in foul trouble. So I don't put this particular game completely on Chauncey. And then they felt like they had a chance to win, putting the starters back in. Dame goes crazy in the fourth quarter. So there wasn't really garbage time until like the last few seconds. So like I didn't blame the playing time thing tonight, but I mean, that is one criticism I've had with this team as a whole, but like he could be taking orders from the front office on who to play too. And he could be doing what they want. And that's not necessarily a reflection on him.
Yeah, it's just messy right now. So why even get emotional about it? Why even get mad about it, you know? I do have a question for you and a question for chat that I think it's going to be very interesting to hear the answer to this. I'm going to type it out.
Okay, while you're doing that, this kind of goes to what we were talking about. So Swords and Shotgun says, have you considered that when people say Chauncey has been a bust, they're talking about the entirety of his tenure and not just this game? Hiring Udoka is the Blazers' #1 priority this offseason. 1, the Blazers are never going to hire Ime Udoka. That's off the table. 2, they're not firing Chauncey either because he still has multiple years on his contract. But, I mean, so we go into last year. Dame's hurt, can't move up and down the court. Eventually has to get a cortisone shot or whatever it was and is out for a while, then comes back and is still obviously not right. So we shut him down for the season, and then we just start shutting down players when Chauncey starts winning games with like Justice Winslow and Josh Hart and those guys. Like we start shutting down players with random injuries. And then we purposely try to lose a bunch of games. So, like, I don't know how you can judge his coaching on last season at all. And then this season, you can definitely judge his coaching. But, obviously, we talk about his coaching every freaking game. It's not like we're just basing this off of tonight or anything, or saying I'm giving Chauncey a pass because of this season or anything. Like, I've been hard on him all season. I don't get what you mean by... Are you not taking into account the entirety of his coaching staff? That's all we do on this channel is take into account everything that goes into it.
If you say Chauncey Billups has been a bust, and that leads to me bringing up how I saw people getting mad at his coaching today, guess what? If you weren't one of those people getting mad at his coaching today, then that statement doesn't apply to you. So why are you getting defensive? If you weren't getting mad at his coaching today, then I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the people who are getting mad about his coaching today. I don't understand it. That's not just because I said something that was led by your comment, like it led me to what I'm saying, it doesn't mean that automatically applies to you. I'm just talking about the people getting mad today. Didn't understand why they were getting mad today. That doesn't mean that's automatically about you. Anyway.
I mean, I'm not super confident in him moving forward, and I hope he's on the shortest of whatever you want to call it, like runs to if he's not good starting off next year. I hope they do the right thing and get rid of him and bring in a better coach. But I don't get why it's like even a thing right now. Like, I mean, there's nothing we can do about the coaching, and we want the team to lose, yet we're getting mad that they're losing and not beating the Boston Celtics, the second best team in the East. Like, I just don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, we want to lose anyway. I love that we have the Celtics on our schedule. Anyway, so my question is, there is a certain big man today that put up a stat line of 24 points on 7 for 16 from the field, including 4 for 10 from 3, 6 for 6 from the free throw line. He also had 8 rebounds and 4 assists. He's a younger big man. I think he can play both power forward and center. He's 25 years old, okay? So, my question is, who would you rather have next year, contract considered, Yusuf Nurkic, or one Zach Collins.
Well, considering both of them are injury prone, I think I'd probably rather have Zach at this point. Contract considered, I think it makes about $8 million next year.
Mm-hmm.
But
last year on his contract.
I mean, we could realistically, he fits into our trade exception we have from the Gary Payton trade now. So realistically, we could have both on the roster, and I think that would be a smart move.
I mean, yeah, I'd like to have both on the roster, but at this point, I would take Zach Collins as our starting center over Yusuf Nurkic. Zach's been really good this year. He's not the most efficient player inside the arc for a center. 57% from two, like he's kind of on par with Nurkic. But he's shooting almost 39% from three, averaging almost 3 assists per game, and that's in 22 minutes per game per 36. If you want to extrapolate his minutes out to 36, he's averaging almost 18 points per game, 10 boards, and 4.5 assists. And he's still young and he's cheaper. But he's been playing pretty good since the Spurs traded Jakob Poeltl.
Hyper glitchy Wi-Fi, which means your smart home.
There's the ESPN ad. 24 points tonight. Last game against the Magic, 28 minutes. He was 10 for 14, 3 for 3 from 3, had 25 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks, Eric. The game before that against the Thunder, 30 minutes, 23 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 7 for 14 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3. The last 3 games combined, he is 11 for 18 from 3. Like, he can shoot the ball. We knew he could shoot the ball, but he's shooting almost 39, like he's shooting 39% this year. He's been really good. And it's just funny because, and this is a point about talking about off-season moves and long-term stuff. What is that, Dono? This is a point about talking about long-term stuff. When the Spurs signed Zach Collins, he had missed a year and a half. Basically almost 2 years. In 2019, 2020,
he came back and played 8 games in the bubble, and he played 3 games, 2.5 before he got hurt. He got hurt in the 3rd game, right, that season. So he played 11 games that season.
Yep, so 11 games. 11 games, and then didn't play in 2020 to 2021. Okay, then the Spurs signed him to a deal that was a 3-year deal, about $7 million per year, guaranteed the first year, like half of it was guaranteed the second year, which is this year, and then it's non-guaranteed for next year. And at the time, people were saying, why would the Spurs offer him $7 million a year and give him this much money when he's barely played in 2 years? And I thought it was a really good move, and I had a ton of people disagree with it. But the reason why I thought it was a really good move is because it was money that the Spurs had in cap space that they weren't going to use productively. They were in the middle of a rebuild in San Antonio. Like, who are they going to sign, right? And so they use it on Zach Collins. They just take a bet, take a gamble. But it was low risk because the cost opportunity, like, what were they going to miss out on by using that $7 million cap space on Zach Collins? They weren't going to miss out on anything meaningful.
Well, also, they set it up to where they could have gotten out of it after a year. So
exactly. Well, that was my next point. They structured it so that, if Zach didn't play a whole year, then they could cut him and only have $3.5 million guaranteed. Like, not a big deal. They could have stretched that for about $1 million a year.
And he did miss a majority. I think he played in 30-some games last year, so he missed over half the season before he started playing last year too. So he was actually out almost 2.5 years before he started playing.
Yeah. Like, basically it ended up being, okay, well, they could cut their losses. Also, they could use him as a contract to trade, Eric. Mm-hmm. They could use him as a contract to trade as $7 million of matching salary. So even if he didn't suit up, he could at least serve a purpose in terms of matching salary in a trade. And they could cut their losses if they didn't trade him and barely owe him anything. But in the scenario where he found a way to get healthy, he could be a bargain on that contract. And potentially an asset that they could flip in a trade to get back maybe a late first-round pick or something. Like the reward was much higher than the opportunity cost or the risk, which was basically nothing. And that's what I said at the time. This isn't just hindsight now. That's what I said at the time. And a lot of people, I feel like, didn't really understand that because they just thought, oh, he's not going to play again. He's super injury prone. He's missed the last 2 seasons. And it was just a short-sighted way of looking at him. But now, he's playing fantastic basketball. He's still non-guaranteed next year, but he's going to get that $7 million option picked up because he's a bargain on it. And that's the type of, moves, shrewd GMing moves, low risk, low opportunity cost, high reward, that I wish the Blazers front offices made more. Like, wish that at that time, I was wishing that we had given that contract to him.
And here's when this comes back to, if you want to do what it takes to win, that's the kind of stuff you have to do. And you have to go into the tax to do it if you're trying to win and be good. San Antonio could do it without being in the tax because they're obviously not trying to be good or not there yet. So that summer when Zach was a free agent, the Blazers chose not to offer him a qualifying offer, which would have been about the same. I think it was right around $7 million or so, which would have been the same that his first year in San Antonio would have been, basically. And so the Blazers that year, so that was last year, right? What happened all last season in terms of the cap and the luxury tax and all that, Tori?
I don't know. I was responding to a comment.
All our moves were based on getting out of the salary cap and getting rid of contracts and doing all this stuff, right? Money. And so they looked at that last offseason and said, oh, Zach Collins, we can't add another $7 million to our, because they were afraid he was going to just accept the qualifying offer with his injury history, play on that for another year, and they'd be, deep into the tax. He'd be untradeable if he was hurt and all that kind of stuff. So we basically let him go because Jody didn't want to pay the tax last year. And so fast forward to this year, this summer, we hard cap ourselves, limiting how much we can spend. And then we also go and we don't accept salary at the trade deadline. So once again, we don't have that on our books, so we can possibly duck the tax next year, right? So this is all coming back to me. We don't make those type of moves, getting a Wiseman or whatever, who's a same situation, has been injured and a bust his first couple of years, but comes as putting up numbers, might have been a good enough player to maybe not be a negative contract and be an expiring next year to trade. But all our moves are based on making sure we don't cost Jody money and go into the tax. And when you constantly do that, it just becomes exponentially harder to add players like Zach Collins on good deals and then have that work out for you when you can't even make a swing to do those kind of deals because Jody won't allow it.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
And part of the bigger point, too, is just because such a player is on a specific yearly salary doesn't mean that's all there is to it. Because at the time, considering the dude had barely played in 2 years, yes, $7 million a year did seem like an overpay. But when you took context into account, the situation that the Spurs were in, the structure of the non-guaranteed part of that contract, and that Zach was still a young player that had shown some promise, you take all the context into account, and it was a good signing because it was low risk, high reward. People didn't think it was a good signing because it was too much money per year for a guy who wasn't playing. But now it's, oh man, I'd love to have a big on that amount of money per year. Even if he missed 30 games, Eric, I'd love to have that. Look at what we have as far as bigs. We'd be much better. Also, we got just a freaking dude pissing me off in chat that I probably shouldn't speak upon. But for the millionth freaking time, stop thinking you speak for Dame. Because you don't speak for Dame. And it pisses me off when people try and speak for Dame and they say things that go directly against what Dame has said himself. Okay? Get out of here with that crap, man. You shouldn't have Damian Lillard as your profile picture. Yeah, I don't speak for Dame. Guess who speaks for Dame? Dame does, and you apparently suck at listening to him. God dang. Like, how you've listened to this dude? If you had actually properly listened to this dude, you wouldn't be saying the stuff you're saying. Anyway, shout out Bailey Outerkirk with a $5 dono. Says, "Go Blazers, I hope we win a chip before I die, age 25. Yeah, I hope so too, man, because at 26, hopefully it happens sometime in the next, 65, 75 years. That'd be cool. That'd be great.
Think you're making it to 100?
That's 90 to 100. And
90
also,
to 100.
I don't know, like, you got to think about it. What type of medical technology will we have by then? I don't know. So I give myself a little bit of time. I probably should eat a little bit better to raise my chances of that, just like this team should lose to raise their chances at Wembanyama. But that's neither here or there. Thank you, Bailey, for the $5 dono. And then shout out Shy Guy with a $2 dono. Eric, Shy Guy says, "My toilet is horribly clogged. Any advice?"
Yeah, just get a good plunger and plunge away till it unclogs.
Or if that doesn't work, stick your face in it. Anyway.
And also, just some advice, like when you're going number 2, just like every once in a while flush the toilet so like it's not all in there wet at the end, with all your toilet paper and stuff. So,
well, chat, we apologize. We have to read off all donos. I don't know what the hell that dono was, but we appreciate the $2 for the number 2. Shout out Chris Branlin, member for 13 months, says, "These guys care more about themselves than Dame." Yeah, they care about, they can't stand watching this team be mediocre any longer. Well, guess what? Neither can we. Guess what? Trading him doesn't guarantee anything. Trading him could guarantee that we're mediocre for the next 10 to 20 years. I mean, look at the Kings the last 20 years. He's the only good thing about this franchise right now. You trust Chauncey and Cronin and Jody to lead a rebuild? I don't. I also don't trust them to build around Dame. So, I'm going to have some loyalty towards the star that's been loyal to us, because if you want stars to be loyal in the future, you cannot set the precedent as an organization that you're going to go back on that. So even if you do have a successful rebuild and get a star, oh, well, what happened to the last star that was here? Oh, yeah, he was loyal AF. And we traded him. What precedent does that set? I don't like that precedent. No way. That's not being selfish. Dame said he wants to be here. So he's made it very, very, very clear that he wants to be here. Saying that, oh, well, Dame would be happy with leaving if it was just the best thing for the franchise. The best thing for the franchise is subjective and arbitrary and completely made up.
People in chat are acting like it's guaranteed if we trade him, we win a championship in the next 10 years, where if we keep him, we won't win crap. That's not the case, dude. Like you cannot guarantee that. That's the problem. Winning a championship with a top 10 player is exponentially easier than finding another top 10 player and building another team that is championship worthy. And I saw Breton in here saying that like the two timeline thing just isn't working. That's why we need to trade Dame, because the timeline doesn't match up. The timeline doesn't match up because Jody is unwilling to put in the financial money needed to win a championship. You cannot win a championship in the NBA being like, oh, we don't want to pay for a backup center because we might have to pay $5 million in tax. Like, you can't win that way. So until they actually financially commit, that is the problem with this timeline, that they won't go all in and give them the actual roster and team, give Dame the actual players that he needs to compete in this league. The one time they had a even respectable roster with like 3 good bench players, they make the Western Conference Finals. But like, we're going to this season with freaking like Drew Eubanks as our backup center, and people act like it's Dame's freaking fault that we don't win a championship. No, this is on Cronin and Jody, and until that they change their freaking way they go about this organization and really like go through with their freaking commitment to Dame, they're never going to work. It doesn't matter what we do. We can trade Dame for 18,000 first-round picks and get Wembanyama and Scoot and every first-round pick this year, and we still aren't going to win crap because our organization is cheap and they won't pay these guys when they're good enough to play. So that's the problem, is we are in a situation where we can't commit to winning with Dame. So we're trying to play this timeline to where we have cheap contracts and the young roster. That is not the reason why he can't win. The reason why is because we can't also have players that help him win, some veterans that we bring in to go along with those young players.
Yeah. There's a comment from one Brenton Jones, which I hate that we share a last name. But there's a comment from Brenton that says, being mediocre with Dame is worse than being mediocre but Dame being successful, as in, we should trade Dame so that he can be successful. Well, you absolute bozo. Dame literally, in the past week,
I mean, it said it like 50,000
summed
times,
up
dude.
what a successful career for him would be. He was on JJ Redick's podcast. I suggest you listen to it because you think you speak for him, and apparently you haven't actually ever listened to him. So go listen to that freaking podcast, because Dame has his own definition for his own success that is different than yours. So stop trying to speak for him, because it's freaking annoying and it's insulting to him, all right?
He's saying you didn't watch it.
I watched the whole thing. I watched how he talked about, which this was my favorite part of the interview, by the way. JJ Redick got him to talk about how he takes his fingertips off the ball when he shoots it, and he actually went into the story of like why that is the case, because I was always curious if he knew that he was doing it. Mm-hmm. And he actually went in on it, because guess what? I listened to the podcast, I listened to the interview, and I was listening to what he was saying. I know it's an amazing concept. It's an amazing concept being quiet and listening, but yeah, that's what I did, and that's why I have a different level of respect for him compared to other athletes, because I understand where he comes from in terms of what a successful career is for himself, and it being more than what people say he should want. Anyway, I'm done. Just silly. Eric?
Yeah.
What's up?
It's just people who, yeah, they think they know someone despite everything they've said.
Yeah, it's just pathetic. Tankathon sim time. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so Blazers currently 9% chance odds at Wembanyama. If you read the thumbnail, you would know that. I'm going to try and come up with catchy and fun thumbnail tags for the rest of the season. Because in a bunch of losses, obviously I could say, the Blazers lose, the Blazers lose, the Blazers lose. No, I'm going to try and have some fun with them. Because I had some questions recently like, Tori, your thumbnail tag, it says thumbnail title goes here. You didn't add one. No, I did that on purpose. Anyway, 6th best odds right now, Eric. Alone in 6th place.
9% at number 1, 37.2% at top 4.
Yeah, I think it's like very close to 50-50 whether we move down or not. Obviously, moving up's not moving down. Staying at 6 isn't moving down. It's like 50-50 whether we fall below 6 or not. Okay, it's the same odds as last year. I just have to go search my tweets and I can have those odds, Eric, which is nice. Because the Blazers had 6th best odds last year. I just can't believe we're sitting here in the same exact lottery position as last year. It's kind of baffling. It's kind of baffling to me.
With more wins at this point, too, and there's still a lot of games.
Yeah, so that's, that's cool. Like, I'll take it. Washington and Indiana, obviously we're rooting for them to win games because we want them to separate from us. Same with Chicago. We're still only 2 games behind New Orleans in terms of, like, winning. Which is kind of crazy. Right now, the Lakers and the Thunder are in the play-in. What an interesting game that would be, especially if LeBron can come back, especially if it's in OKC. It's like a battle of two teams in completely different places in terms of where they're at in trying to build towards winning.
Mm-hmm.
Utah's going to keep tanking. I think we're comfortably clear of Utah. I still think there's a chance that Washington, Indiana could lose for the rest of the season. I'm not really worried about Chicago. I think they'll try and win because they do owe that pick to Orlando. So I think worst case scenario is we end up 8th. Best case scenario is we end up 5th, but that's very unlikely. Best realistic scenario is we end up 6th.
Yep.
So let's simulate this thing. Fingers crossed for some good luck. 14 Toronto, 13 OKC. We'll scroll up from the bottom like we always do. Reveal it like a normal draft lottery. 12 is the Lakers. 11 is Utah. 10 is New Orleans. I got to try and get this to go slower. 9 is going to be Orlando via Chicago. 8 is Washington. 7 is Orlando. So the Blazers move up. 6 is Houston, which is absolutely awesome because they don't deserve the number 1 pick. 5 is San Antonio. So you got Portland, you got Indiana, you have Detroit, and you have Charlotte. Those are the 4 teams in the top 4 in this postgame show's Tankathon sim. At 4, it's going to be the Indiana Pacers. 3 is going to be the Detroit Pistons. It's us or the freaking Hornets, Eric. At 2 is the Portland Trail Blazers. And at 1 is the Charlotte Hornets. MJ sells the team just in time for the Hornets to get Wemby.
Rip City Highlights says if we get this close to being number 1, I'm going to have to watch from the bathroom.
Oh, no. Chat, what would be your reaction like if it comes down to the final 2 and it says we're 2? Would you be like just happy regardless because we moved up, or would there be like a moment of despair that we're that close to Wemby and don't get him? Because me and Eric have talked a little bit about this.
You know what's funny? In 2007, I was actually like, I would have been fine with either one because like we would have gotten Durant or Odin. So like I actually thought 2 might have been better because you didn't have the pressure of taking either one. You know, you just took whatever one was left. But yeah, this year, definitely you definitely want 1. But I think, regardless, as someone said in chat, you're happy if you move up. It was worth tanking, whether we get number 1 or not.
But if it's like it comes down to if we see a Charlotte logo, we get Wemby. If we see our logo, we don't.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be sitting there like, please, 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 please. I'm gonna be desperate at that point because it's right there. It's like it would be like losing in the finals, Eric. Yes, you're happy that you made a run, but that loss in the finals would sting at the same time. So that's what I equivalent it to. What potential like trade down scenarios are here, do you think?
I'm trying to package Scoot, and I think you got to try to package Scoot, Sharp, and whatever minimum contracts you need to fill that out to get Mikal, I think.
Mikal.
I hate giving up the number 2 for Mikal, but I think that's our most likely scenario here is 2, 3, or 4 and trading that for Mikal.
Yeah, so salary-wise, I can pull up Fanspo here. Take a look at that sort of trade package.
It'd be a lot easier if we could sign the person and wait 30 days. Don't know if that'll be an option or not, but
yeah.
What's our other pick at right now? Did you already close it?
It's at 23. Here,
23.
I'll pull it back up. 23. I assume you'd include Nas in that deal.
Yeah, Nas Sharp at 2. I think I can maybe
Nas,
pick up
Sharp, and Knox.
Yeah.
And
That's
Keon.
Yeah, just get rid of all those guys.
Yeah, and then we can like take a minimum back. You know, we could take like a.
And number 2.
Yeah.
Are you doing that?
I'm
Chad,
just
are you
doing it
that?
with. I'm just. Yeah, let's see here. They don't even have us as having our own pick, so I'll just trade the 2024 first that will end up owing Chicago to them. And we could take back like a minimum, like an Edmund Sumner or something.
Well, it'd be the offseason, so we don't really have to worry about that.
Yeah. Because they could cut Knox. So that would be the trade, guys. They have a TPE for all of them.
Yeah, they have a pretty big TP. So.
You had a $22 million TPE. Chat, would you do this trade? I'll do another chat poll. This is the night of chat polls. That trade is up, right? Oh, I'm showing you guys the YouTube studio. Would you guys do this trade? Also, is this... Yeah. I need to set up a Fanspo window. Because it's just the Tankathon window that I'm using for Fanspo. Hell no. Hell no. Nope. We're getting a lot of no's. But I'll do a chat poll.
What if they gave us their first this year? What do they have?
Trade. Yes. Yes, if they included their first, which is 22. Or I'll do a no.
Yeah, I agree, Crypto, that you got to ask for Claxton too, but the problem is, how do we match the salary? Like,
Well, you trade Nurkic out.
Oh yeah, Nurk. Yeah, Nurk. Duh. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you probably
then you're easy.
like,
yeah.
Knox and Keon.
Yeah, I don't want to keep those guys.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, like, you know, it would be a more even trade in terms of players going out and in for both teams. So.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
If we got Claxton, obviously we wouldn't need Nurk then. Then we could do that salary dump for Nurk.
Yeah, but probably just have him going back that way. You could actually do like Nurk, Sharp, and Keon, and that would match.
So here's the thing. So Alex asks, you don't think we could find a way to keep Sharp? Number 2 is super valuable pick this year. Again, so this is why, going back to each trade deadline, the offseason and stuff, why Torrey gets so pissed at all of these things. We are stuck in a position where if we want to trade, even if the Nets would do McHale for number 2 straight up with no Sharp, nothing else, we can't make trades like that because we don't have the contracts. So that's the problem. Like, if we had Wiseman right now, not only would we have a backup center that could actually play defense, but we could just have him and Keon and Knox and the number 2 pick for McHale, right? So it's just, and then we could keep Sharp and keep all our other assets, and I think that's a pretty fair trade, right? But now we have to talk about including Ant or Sharp in most of these trades, and yeah, so this is going to be the problem.
Well, yeah. So let me explain something here in regards to the Nets. Okay. Let me like make this smaller. There. That should be better. Here's the thing. If we trade Nurkic, it's much easier to like match for McHale without giving up Sharp or whatever, right? But it would open up a hole at the starting center spot. So obviously you'd love to get Nick Claxton back, but given how good and young he is, if you got back Nick Claxton, you'd have to give up Sharp too anyway. So it's either you're giving up Nurkic, opening up a hole at that spot to keep Sharp, and then you have to figure out a way to replace Nurkic, or you're getting back Claxton and you have to include Sharp anyway. So that's the two options, right? Whereas, like, they probably don't even want Nurkic. So if we had, you know, another salary to attach to, like, Nas for McHale, then maybe we could keep Nurkic and trade for McHale. But the problem is, because we don't have those contracts, exactly like you said, it would be really hard to do it without including Nurkic.
Yeah, and here's the other problem, too. So
It's possible, but it'd just be tough.
The Nets aren't trying to rebuild. They are actually trying to win because they have a bunch of other teams' future picks, but they don't have their own picks from the Harden trade still. So it doesn't matter. They don't need to tank or whatever. So they're still going to try and win. Mikal Bridges, they turned down offers of 4 first-round picks for him at the deadline.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about situations where we're talking about like if we stay at 6 or we trade down to 6, could we do the same trade for Mikal? Like, I don't know if they're doing that. Like, I think they might just keep Mikal. If you're talking about, well, let's just trade. I saw this. Sorry, Jay. I'm just gonna say it, but I'd rather trade Ant and Nurk for Claxton and Bridges. Brooklyn's not doing that. They're not. They're absolutely not doing that trade. So we need the 2, 3, or 4 pick to even get in the conversation to get one of these guys. And I still don't even know if they do this trade if they're Brooklyn. That's how good Mikal's been for them. So, yeah. So I'm just I don't understand why people think we're going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mikal is a pipe dream. Okay,
What?
I think Mikal is a pipe dream.
Jesse, what's my worst take ever? What are you even talking about?
Oh, man. Like, here's the thing. If we're making a trade with Brooklyn for Mikal because we have the number 2 pick, I would be willing to overpay in terms of additional assets to also get Nick Claxton. Like, you could maybe convince me to give up everything outside of Dame and Ant, and of course Jeremy Grant, he's a free agent. You could probably convince me to give up everything else for Nick Claxton and Mikal Bridges, because I think Dame, Ant, Grant, Mikal, Claxton offensively is like a top 3 offense, but Mikal and Claxton are so good defensively at the 2 positions that we need good defenders at, and they're the type of defenders we need too, that like they could make us an above average defense potentially. Like, they're that good, right? Or at least close to average. And if you're close to average, those guys are also 23 and 26 years old respectively, and you'd have Ant, who's 23 right now. Like, you wouldn't be completely screwing over your future. Then you'd be talking about a pretty extended window with Dame. You'd probably have to surround him with pieces, but like you could still hypothetically resign Matisse Thybulle as a defender, you know what I mean? Or could still have maybe Nasir Little if he can figure things out, or Cam Reddish if he can find consistency. Like, you'd still have these other pieces. It's just like, I don't know. Just doing the trade for Mikal, I don't think makes us good enough. That's the problem. If you got Mikal and Claxton, it'd be good enough. But I'm not sure if you gave up Sharp and like the 2nd pick and the Knicks pick this year, and then 3 future Blazer picks, and just unprotect the Chicago pick or whatever, figure out something with that. I don't know if I don't think Brooklyn would take it, because if Brooklyn turned down 4 first-round picks for Mikal, are they doing essentially the 2nd pick, 4 firsts and Sharp from Mikal and Claxton? I mean, you're adding Sharp in the 2nd pick essentially while also taking back Claxton, but they didn't do 4 firsts from Mikal, so I don't know. It's a lot to get back for those 2 guys, and it's a lot to give up, but that's probably what we're looking at. Because in order to get Mikal, you're going to have to basically convince Brooklyn, because they're not going to be just looking to get rid of him for the hell of it.
Yep.
What was your worst take?
Oh, that if we got 2, that we'd even consider trading Scoot because he's a generational prospect. But
He's not generational, but
and once again, so Scoot is undoubtedly number 2 on my draft board. Like, I'm not saying he's bad or anything like that. I just can't think of a like. I even think the Thompson twins are better fits for Portland than Scoot right now. So, like, as special as Scoot is, that's why you use that pick to trade, because you get a haul for him that you wouldn't get for any other assets you have. Number 2 pick is going to be super valuable. So that's why if we get number 2, I'm trading it not because I don't believe that Scoot is going to be great. I think he will be. It's just I don't think we'll ever have an asset as valuable as the number 2 pick would be in a trade to help Dame right now. And I don't think Scoot fits well enough if we just keep him to make us a championship contender. So even if I do think like we're getting back a lesser player and we're potentially trading a superstar for really good players but not stars, I still think that's pretty much something the Blazers are going to have to consider. And if they can still keep Ant and Sharp somehow, they still have their young timeline. They still have their other picks and stuff. They still have what other assets, you could probably pick up some other first and maybe free up your Chicago pick or whatever based on what other assets you get and things like that. So, I
hate how much people have to use hyperbole to prove their point. Like, Scoot Henderson's a generational prospect, and I say he's not, and he says in chat, how do you know? I've watched him a ton. He's special. Bro, what do you think generational means? It means once in a generation. Like, you just throw that word out there. He's not once in a generation. He's not even number 1 in his own draft class. Like, he's like generational. People throw that around too loosely. Wemby is generational, okay? It's rare that you have a generational prospect because they're generational. Like, I don't know what you think that phrase means. He's a really good prospect. Yes, he's special. Just because he's special doesn't mean he's generational. But that's the thing. It's like a lot of people just love to throw out hyperbolic terms in order to try and get their point across. It's like, if your point's good enough, you probably don't have to use hyperbole.
And there are a ton of really good guards. And so, like, the difference between, I see names like De'Aaron Fox, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, whatever. Those kind of players. Like, is the difference between, like, let's just say Scoot does become a star. Is the difference between those players and him that great to where what we really need right now is wing talent and forward talent? And center talent, if you want to go that route. So, I can name 10 different guards that are really good right now that, like, Scoot might not differentiate between any of them. He might just become one of those. Whereas if we can use him to get a wing, that's what changes teams right now. So, I'm not saying Scoot's not going to be better than many of those players. I'm just saying, like, the hardest thing to get is a legit forward, two-way forward. And if we can use Scoot to get that on our team, that's something that could potentially make this end of Dame's run here change versus just keeping Scoot and trading Ant and all that stuff. Like, I don't know if that gets us enough to get to where we want to go.
Yeah, so there's a couple comments. One is, to be fair, generational talent title doesn't seem to have a consensus on definition yet.
Right.
A lot of people use it loosely and a lot of people use it strictly. Well, if generational doesn't mean once in a generation, then what does it mean? Isn't that the generation part of generational? Like, what is it?
I mean,
what is
people
it referring
just
to?
throw out generational as like someone that's like different than everyone else. But yeah, I don't
exactly. Know. It's a completely arbitrary term, but if you actually like look at it, it doesn't make sense to use it as loosely as people use it. Because what else would it mean other than once in a generation? But then there's another comment of, oh God, I lost it. Crap. I wanted to respond to something. Where was it? There was a comment that said, to be fair, one of you said Scoot was a generational talent and Wemby was once in a lifetime player.
I read a tweet last post game. I read a tweet.
Wasn't it like Wemby is generational, Scoot is like once every other year type of player, and Brandon Miller is like a once a year type player?
Yes.
Isn't that what you read? Yeah. Yes. You never said that Scoot was generational.
Yeah. It said Wemby is a generational player. Scoot is a once every other year type player or talent, and that Brandon Miller, there's like one Brandon Miller in every draft, basically.
Yeah. I take like that's the thing. If we end up with 2, I don't want to just take Brandon Miller over Scoot. I want to trade it down.
Yeah, I'd be fine
so
with that
somebody
too.
can give up value. You would be fine taking Brandon Miller at 2?
No, like if we traded down to 3.
Yeah, trade it down. I just think
like 2 firsts or something, you know.
I just think Scoot has more value than Brandon Miller, and it's enough where you don't just take Brandon Miller. You have to capitalize on the value that the pick that you could take Scoot with would bring you back. And I've brought this up, like, you would have to have the conversation of, like, is there a package out there where you could trade Ant and keep 2, and it would make sense, but 2 is going to have more trade value than Anthony Simons. Like,
yeah.
2 is going to have more trade value. Eric, for like a young team that's, like, trying to rebuild, who do you think has more value, Ant or Sharp?
Depends on the team, I think.
Do you think they're, like, relatively equal?
I don't know if... I don't think Sharp has as much value as people think.
Yeah, I'm starting to, like, wonder that a little bit, but still, like...
But
why would he have less than he did? You know what I mean? Like...
Well, I mean, I think the only thing you could say is he's on his rookie deal, but it's still just potential, whereas Ant's actually shown when he can lead a team and average, 25 points per game and 6 assists or whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think Sharp's been, I don't know. I think people just get weird expectations and then they start to they got discouraged when he started playing bad because their expectations went through the roof when he comes out on fire at the beginning of the season, I think it's unfair to Sharp, but I don't think he had as much value at the draft, and I don't think he had as much value at any point really this season outside of, when he was shooting like 70% from 3 for a couple weeks. But yeah.
I'll just say this. I don't think there's any way his draft should have gone down from the draft, I don't think there's any way his stock should have gone down from the draft till now. But still, in a lot of people's eyes, I feel like it has or might have.
Yeah. But yeah,
AJ says I think he's worth like 2 firsts. No way. No way.
Depends on the first, I guess.
No way. Like, yeah, if you're talking about, the number 1 pick in this year's draft, then he's not even worth 1 first. You know what I mean? But like in general, there was 3 firsts given up for the 11th pick last year. And that was Ousmane Dieng. There was 3 firsts given up for that pick. Yes, like one of those firsts was like a low value first because of protections or whatever, but it's like, so yes, it does depend on that, but
yeah,
the 7th pick when the 11th was given up for 3 firsts.
I mean,
it was Ousmane Dieng. Sharp has more value than 2 firsts.
The unknown of a current pick, I think, is always going to have a little more value than someone who's already played a year. I think that's just part of life, but I do think some teams would.
That's part of bad GMing, I think. But
yeah, well, I mean, we talk about this like Keon, like he's a first round pick, but he's not. 6 months later, he wasn't worth.
It depends on the team, but that's like team fit determining valuation. That's not like he's been in the league a year, his value should automatically just be lower just cause.
Yeah,
I think that might be the case for some GMs because they just like the.
But I don't think Sharp's. I don't know if many teams would give up 3 firsts for Sharp right now.
Which is just silly to me because I think there was teams that would give up 3 firsts for him in the draft last year. And there was 3 firsts given up for, the 11th pick. And his value shouldn't have gone down.
But like I said, once someone's played, I think it's just the mystery of like Ousmane Dieng, they trade 3 firsts for, right? Because they think he could pop and be a star, but like Ousmane Dieng, they're not trading 3 firsts for Ousmane Dieng now.
Yeah,
no
team.
team.
My whole thing is like, what you expected Sharp to pop and be a star at 19 without?
No, it has nothing to do with that. It's just like until you actually there's your value at the draft, and then there's your value like if you show stuff, it's fine. But like I feel like he's been kind of hit or miss this year in terms of like actually showing value on the court. So like I just don't think any team's gonna give up 3 firsts for him. I don't know.
I think that's silly. I'm not disagreeing with you because I think some GMs do view it like that, but it's just like I don't know what else he could have realistically done to not.
Well, Ousmane Dieng was a project too, right?
Yeah.
So like I don't get why. Like he's obviously not worth 3 firsts anymore, but Sharp is because Ousmane Dieng's draft pick was.
Could have played and like had some good moments, and he hasn't. Whereas like Sharp, I don't know how you realistically could have expected him to really play much better than he has this year.
Yeah, but it's still people are still going to question whether he's. They still have the same questions about him that they had in the draft. I mean, I don't think he's necessarily answered any of those either.
Yeah, I think it should be relatively the same. Like logically speaking, I just think it should be the same. That's just my opinion. AJ said, you guys were talking about 7 for 12 in Dort last year. Yeah, well, I mean, if 11 goes for 3 firsts, hypothetically, then how does that disprove anything that I'm saying, you know? Like, in 12 is Jalen Williams, who's, I think, worth 3 firsts right now. See, he played his stock up because he's been freaking phenomenal, and he's a reason why the Thunder are a 500 team.
Well, they're also, it's weird because, like, a lot of players that would be better than their value wouldn't be tradable to, like, the Thunder are trading him, so...
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, if you weren't like, if you're the Blazers and you weren't willing to trade 7 for 3 future firsts at the draft last year, then at this point you can't take back anything less than that. Because otherwise, it's like, well, you should just trade the 7th pick because you couldn't have expected it to really go much better. So, if he probably exceeded realistic expectations this year, and given those expectations, you wouldn't have traded him for 3 firsts at the deadline last year, I don't see how you could trade him for less now as Portland. Like, you have to hold him to that value.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that'd be tough to get 2 firsts for sure right now.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I don't know. I mean, it depends on the first, but I don't know. If that's true, that's ridiculous of other teams.
What are you talking about, Gordon?
Do you guys get it? Am I alone here? I don't know.
I don't think he's a top 7 pick in this draft, so...
Yeah, this draft is better, Zach. This draft is better. So, in this draft, no. If this draft was like the Anthony Bennett draft, then yeah. Sharp is worth 1 first-round pick. Oh my goodness. I'm just... ridiculous.
Well, we're not trading him for first anyway, so it doesn't matter. Like,
I think he has much more value than just a first. Because that's the thing, when you're starting to rebuild, he still has a super high ceiling. A higher ceiling than you'd get from just your average first-round pick. At least 2 firsts, but... yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Here's the thing in trade packages and in trade talks and in this debate. The value that the team that has him places on him is more likely going to be higher than the value other teams place on him. And that's not necessarily wrong. And different teams are going to have different values on players.
I'm not saying he's a bust. It also matters, like, what the other team has. So, like, you know, if we're trading him to, say, a team that, like, OKC or something, yeah, they might give up 3 firsts because they have a bunch of firsts. And that's the only reason they traded 3 firsts to get 11 anyways. But, like, yeah, most teams, if you're just talking about having their normal cachet of assets, yeah. But I don't think it's like he's a bust or he's done anything wrong or anything. Like, I'm not saying I'm down on his talent level or anything like that.
If Robert Covington's worth 2 firsts, then Sharp's worth 6. Anyway, Anyway, here's the thing. It's like, if a team holds him to that valuation, then I'd rather just keep him and trade other assets, to help bridge that gap and just keep him. That's what I'd prefer then, So that's the thing, is like, I don't know. He could swing a deal with one team. I could see a team valuing him a ton as just like a super boomer bust high upside guy. Like 6'5", 7 foot wingspan with that athleticism, able to shoot. Like a few years from now, he'll probably have a bag too. Like he shows flashes. Yeah. Like some teams I see love taking a chance on.
Exciting too. Like it's the fans going.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, he's going to be better next year.
Yeah,
I have no doubt about that. Because there's a couple, unless he sucks next year. Like,
well, weren't you starting to question his work ethic, though?
I heard something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, personally, I'm not necessarily questioning it outside of just I heard something about it. But that was more so him being late for practice. That might not be a work ethic thing. That might just be a time management thing. I don't know. Jacob Sumlin says, sorry, I've been honest tonight. Love the channel, guys. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Jacob, but you just said he's barely worth a second-round pick, so that's just not true.
Well, he also, right before that, said the same thing we argued about earlier, about how he loves Dame, but Dame would be better off moving on. So that's 0 for 2 there, Jacob. Sorry.
Yeah. We'll try better next post-game stream, Jacob. God. I don't know. What do you want to talk? We're already almost 2 hours in. I don't know how. I don't know what we've been talking about this entire time. I don't know what this post-game show is. We don't have to do a defensive breakdown. I don't really feel like it.
Salt Lake asked who was late for practice. Jason Quick reported around the trade deadline that Keon and Sharp were late for a practice. I've never heard anything else more than that, so yeah.
Yeah. I think Sharp needs a Dame, too.
So, I asked Alvin earlier what team traded a star and went young and got draft picks and won a championship, or like how that is more better than keeping a top 10 player. And he said that was changing the goalpost or some BS, but now he's still arguing about it. I would love to know, though, an example of a team that won trading their best player and then going the draft pick route or whatever, or trading him for another star. Jacob, it's not necessarily your opinion. It's that Dame has said a million times that his opinion is that he doesn't feel it would be better off for him to go elsewhere. He wants to do it in Portland. So if you keep saying you know what's best for Dame or you think it's better for him, that's just weird.
Yeah, when he said otherwise. You're going against his word on what you think is best for him.
Just like 2 days ago, he said.
Yeah.
I mean, the freaking Nets got Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. They traded for all those guys, and they freaking flamed out. They got swept in the first round, lost in the second round the year before that. I know there were injuries and stuff, but you can't say that, like, oh, you can't have injuries because that's what'll happen. So that's a team that went for it completely with 3 freaking superstars, and they couldn't even do it.
I mean, look at the 76ers in the process. They haven't gotten as far as Dame's gotten in Portland out of that process. They haven't made the conference finals because of the 5-year super tank process where they won 9 games in a season. So that's the thing, is acting like going that route guarantees anything is not true. Winning a championship is freaking hard. That's why you almost have to be okay with not winning a championship. And it's okay, other things have to matter. Mm-hmm. And what matters to me is we got this dude that represents this franchise perfectly. He's a top 10 player, so you should be able to build a competitive team around him if you take your head out of your ass. And he's shown loyalty to this franchise, and I'm going to show that same loyalty back. That matters to me. Because guess what? In order to be a legit sports fan that isn't just a bandwagoner, other things have to matter other than winning rings, because winning rings is freaking hard. 1 out of 30 teams win rings, and it's always going to be stacked in favor of bigger markets. Because players are more likely to flock to bigger markets. I mean, look, the Lakers won a ring because they were able to get LeBron James and Anthony Davis because they're in LA.
And also teams that are willing to pay what it takes to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it comes back to also. But, even without that, like, it's hard to win a championship. Other things have to matter to you as a fan. And other teams matters to Dame as a player. Because guess what? When these players get caught up in ring culture, they go win a ring with a super team, and then it gets discredited anyway. And then it's like, okay, well, you're constantly trying to chase a narrative about you that you're trying to solve. Like, oh, he can't win a ring, or he hasn't won a ring. Okay, you go win a ring, and the narrative changes to something else you don't like. Mm-hmm. It changes to, he can't win a ring without Steph. He can't win a ring as the best player on a team.
The Thunder went out and got Paul George and Carmelo Anthony, and they couldn't even get out of the first round 2 years in a row.
Yep. So that's the thing is, like, if you're constantly chasing narratives and constantly trying to establish narratives, then you're going to, more likely than not, end up empty-handed or unsatisfied. So that's the thing is, I'd rather just write it out. You got a top 10 player. That's the hard part. Now build a team around him. That should hypothetically be easier than getting a top 10 player. But in Portland, for some reason, we've made it harder because of incompetency. So figure it out. Like, figure it out with them. Easy.
Question, Alvin, please answer. And all you freaking Dame haters, answer this as well. His best player he's had, who is it? Jeremy Grant, CJ McCollum, LaMarcus Aldridge? Those are the best freaking players he's had in 11 seasons. 11 years. Okay? The freaking Toronto Raptors had, like, Kawhi, Marc Gasol. They had Kyle Lowry. All these players. The Warriors have not only Curry, but they have freaking Draymond and Klay Thompson and all these other players, right? The freaking Cavaliers, when they won, have Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving. Tori, you already mentioned the Lakers getting Anthony Davis to go along with the best freaking player in the world, LeBron James. Dame hasn't had any help, so shut the F up with this. Dame doesn't win. He's not a winning player. How are you fucking going to go win with that crap? You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to win a championship with that level of players. So, like, to blame Dame for that crap is dumb, man. Like, get him another player that he can go out and win with. Like, that's what I want the Blazers to do. It's much more likely, if they were able to accomplish that they'd win a championship than trading Dame for, like, 10 draft picks and hoping one of those pans out, dude. Like, it's just, like, ridiculous when you say Dame's not a winning player, he doesn't make his teammates better. He freaking hasn't had any good teammates, like, that are capable of winning a championship. It's just dumb. Like, that's why this whole argument is dumb.
There's a response to it that says, you're talking about the past. I said going forward, I'd rather build around Scoot, Ant, Sharp, and others than continue to watch Dame fail. Guess what? So what? You replace Dame with Scoot? You'd be praying that Scoot becomes as good as Dame and then also becomes as loyal as Dame and the leader that Dame is. That's a good case scenario for Scoot. I know he's some terrific prospect, but Dame's a top 75 player of all time for a reason. Like, he's a top 10 player.
You pray that
more
Scoot's
likely
70% of Dame. Not Dame, yeah.
So more likely than not, Scoot's not going to be as good as Dame. Ant's not going to be as good as Dame. Sharp's not going to be as good as Dame. They're all going to be good, but then you're sitting there with the freaking 5 seed when those guys are in their prime, and you're like, dang, we don't have a top 10 player.
Here's the thing, too. We could draft Scoot, and we'd have Scoot, Sharp, Ant, and still Dame. We don't have to trade him in that scenario. We could still win with those three. If you think those three players are so good, then Dame can just be the sixth man, and just relax while those three carry him to a title when he's 35, right? That's all we have to do this year then. Like, because if that's the case, Like, why wouldn't that work out with Dame? Why would we have to get rid of him for it to be a championship then?
Yeah, and here's the thing: is like, what type of package are you going to get back? The Suns overpaid probably for KD, but the Nets didn't even get back anything that's like guaranteed to be an all-star. McHale's never been an all-star. None of the other players they've gotten back have ever been an all-star. Those picks could be late first. I know they're unprotected, so they could end up being really good, but guess what? They could also be late first. So you're not guaranteed anything. Like, that's the thing, is if one of those assets generates a top 10 player, that's a optimistic scenario for Brooklyn. Now, given their situation, they kind of had to trade KD. I mean, I guess they could have kept on to him, but it was a tough spot. Dame's not KD. Dame's been loyal to us. Like, we have a top 10 player. Build around that. Like, just stockpile these assets until you have a Joel Embiid or a Giannis become available or whatever. Maybe it's somebody else that's a borderline top 10 player. Guess what? If you got Dame a borderline top 10 player, he's probably freaking contending, because the thing is, he's never really had anything close to that. If you gave Dame Joel Embiid and just some solid role players, they probably got a legitimate chance to beat anyone in a playoff series. Like, those two guys could just carry the freaking team. So that's the point, is it's hard to get a top 10 player. When you already have a top 10 player, why not just focus on trying to get another one? Like, or trying to get something close. I don't know. Blaming Dame for losing is just seriously ridiculous.
And explain to me how Chris Paul almost won a championship. They're up 2-0 in the finals at 36 years old with Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, and DeAndre Ayton as the main guys on the team he was leading. How Dame could not possibly do that with a better roster as well, or a roster like that.
Also, do people bring up this conversation? Do they not have any principles in terms of, like, do they not appreciate loyalty? If you appreciate loyalty, then you should also have that principle of your
crap about loyalty.
Have some principles.
Couldn't care less about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guess what? We're never building anything without some sort of loyalty, because we're at Portland. Like, I don't know. It's any sort of rebuild. You run the risk of, like, oh, you finally land a star, and he might be able to become as good as Dame, and then he wants out. Sick. Now you're back at square one 5 years later. There's a lot of different ways it plays out for the negative. Like, that's the thing, and that's the problem, is like, going that route always seems good until you do it. Guess what? Look at the freaking Charlotte Hornets right now. They're 22-50. They have a higher likelihood of ending up with a pick 5 or lower than they are of ending up with a pick 4 or higher. They only have a 12.5% chance at the number 1 pick. Mm-hmm. Even if you're terrible, they've evened out the lottery odds. It's hard to sit at the top of the draft over and over and over again. It's hard, and that's the thing. It's like, if you get a couple, like, decent draft picks that can become borderline stars but aren't good enough to become superstars, all of a sudden you're sitting there with, like, the 11th pick now because you're a little bit better, but you don't have a top 10 player. Like, you're better, but you don't have good enough prospects because you weren't able to get the number 1 pick because you only have a 14% chance if you're the worst team in the league. So there's so many different, like, scenarios where trading Dame ends up not being any better, not resulting in a top 10 player, and you're completely going back against his loyalty. It just doesn't make any sense.
Also,
but people don't think about the negative situations, Eric. People don't think about the negative situations. It's, oh, we're stuck in the middle right now, so we just need to completely blow it up so we can get out of it. Guess what? It doesn't mean that you'll get out of it. The Kings have missed the playoffs for 20 straight years. Like, who knows? You could draft the wrong player. The draft is not a perfect science. Guess what? You can find Giannis with the 15th overall pick. You can find stars later in the draft. Like, it's not just, oh, we just can sit at the draft at the top of the draft and we're guaranteed to have a really good rebuild. Guess what? If you had Scoot and he like looked good year one, and you had Ant and you had Sharp, you're probably not ending up with a top 5 pick. You probably end up with a 6th, 7th pick. So you get another Sharp. Is that good enough?
Also, you also have to keep in mind, okay, so you're trading Dame to another team. They're not going to want to trade their best players back for Dame because teams would only trade for a 33-year-old Damian Lillard to win like now, right? They're not setting themselves up for the future. So there's not a lot of scenarios where you could trade Dame, make your team better, and then also like if you're trying to win with that roster. So I mean, maybe there's some teams that have some young superstars or whatever, but like this whole thought that we could just trade Dame for whatever asset, we could ask for whatever we wanted and get it. Like, it's just
Here's
crazy.
the problem. People that want to trade Dame, they always paint trading Dame in the most optimistic light possible. And they always paint keeping Dame in the most pessimistic light possible. And this comment proves that point, Eric, because this dude who we're arguing with in chat says, yes, or we could hit a home run, draft Scoot, another stud, and the other players, and we could win a ring if we trade Dame, essentially. That's the most optimistic possible scenario. Guess what? If I flip it, I could sit here and say, well, we could potentially trade for Joel Embiid and win a ring. Guess what? There's actually less steps to that, you know?
Well, yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But that's the thing is, that's the problem. Here, let me make this point. That's the problem is, like, people that have this narrative, they don't take all the potential outcomes and scenarios into account. It's always super optimistic for trading Dame, and any of the potential negatives that could play out, they don't take into consideration at all. And then having Dame is supposedly the worst thing ever, having the best player in franchise history. It's not totally logical.
Well, I mean, if you just look at the tankathon standings, the 5 teams ahead of us, 1 through 5, none of those teams are trading for Dame, right? That doesn't make any sense for any of them to do so. So we're not getting like another top 5 pick in this draft unless maybe there's another team later in the lottery if they moved up. I don't know, like
I was going to say,
Washington.
I'll do a sim and see if a team moves up and we got the first overall pick, so...
Like, let's just say Washington got the number 2 pick or something. Like, they're probably trading that, and I don't know if they can match Dame's salary with other players, but, you know, like let's just say we traded that for Scoot, kept the number 7 pick or whatever we end up getting. So we have, like, 2 and 7 in this draft. And like, that team's not getting any better. I don't know. What's another team? Toronto has too many free agents because I believe Van Vliet could opt out and Gary Trent can opt out and Pirtle's a free agent. So, I mean, I have a hard time there trading like Siakam for Dame or whatever, and the number 3 pick or whatever they end up getting. I don't understand what we're doing to maximize that value. And if we trade Dame for next year's first round pick unprotected and stuff, that team's going to be good enough to where it's not a good pick anyway. So we're talking about like a late lottery at best. So like what kind of, don't just say, oh, we could trade him and get this and this and this. Give a realistic scenario for what we could actually do to win both post Dame and that the other team would actually do. Jake the Snake says, how about we get the first pick and then none of this debate matters? Yep, Tori said that earlier.
No. Here's what happens. We get the first pick and people say, oh, trade Dame for the second pick, even though the team with the second pick wouldn't trade it for him.
Right.
Like, this will continuously be a conversation. And, there's a reason. Like, this conversation annoys me. There's a reason why we say, no trade Dame talk. No trade Dame talk. No trade Dame talk. There's a reason why we say that, because like actually annoys me because there's just something wrong about going back on the loyalty he's had for this organization. Like, there's just something like that bugs me. The thought of that bugs me. That's why the conversation annoys me. But then also the conversation annoys me because it's always assuming that the process results in a championship. Well, the process in Philadelphia hasn't resulted in even a conference finals. Like, that never gets taken into account at all. And it's like, okay, well, we tank a year, we get the 7th pick, and we get Shaden Sharp. And then I see the same people in chat saying, like, he's barely worth the 2nd, or he's only worth 1 first, blah, 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 blah. Like, okay. Anyway.
SXKJX says the Blazers are a business and they must do what's best for the business, trading Dame or not. You think them trading Dame would be good for the business? Like, that's the only reason why they even have as many people showing up for games right now as they do.
Guess what? In business, when you do right by people more than you do wrong by people, it's normally going to be a good business decision, no matter what the business is. And if it so happens in a certain circumstance that doing right by somebody ends up being the worst monetary business decision than doing wrong by someone, then guess what? Okay, well, let's make the wrong business decision then. I'd rather do that than, you know what I mean?
And I saw a lot of confusion with, so Woj had a tweet today saying that several teams, including the Blazers, were paid $30-some million by other teams. So the NBA has like a revenue sharing stream. So the year, the 2021-2022 season, I believe was the one that was saying. They had a situation where, there was still COVID and stuff for a lot of teams. And it was just a rough season for a lot of teams in terms of revenues, but usually it's not that drastic. But the NBA has it set up to where, like, if one team makes like a crap load of money, they give money to some of the teams that don't make as much money. So that was just kind of a 1-year outlier of an extreme example of that. Usually it's a lot smaller number, but that particular season, a lot of teams, including the Blazers, lost a lot of money. So like small market teams don't make a ton of money, but before Dame came aboard, you probably don't remember this if you're making comments like that, Alvin, but there were years where you could get tickets for like $3 and no one was there at games and stuff like that. And last year when we were tanking, people stopped showing up to games. It was dead in the arena. No one cared about the team anymore. And that's like the worst possible thing, is when people stop caring. You're muted.
No, I'm just reading chat.
Okay.
Oh God, thanks to all the trolls. At least we had 2 days off before this. Shout out to Tay Plays, $5 dono. Says, are there any older NBA guys that would be interesting with the Knicks pick? Probably a little later on in the draft would be the range for like a Jaime Jaquez or a Jalen Wilson. More so with like our 2nd round pick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure of anyone with the Knicks pick particularly.
I don't think he's going to fall to 23 right now, but like Chris Murray is a guy who's a little older.
That's like the only one over 21 projected in that range, other than maybe Marcus Sasser.
Yeah, Sasser is the only other interesting one in my opinion, but he's a guard and he's a small guard, so he's like a 6'1" guard. So are we really going to draft that? So even though he's a good two-way guard, I don't think that'll be someone that they even look at or consider.
I do think if they make the right pick with their 2nd round pick, they could maybe get somebody that could come in and help right away. Maybe they'd have to trade it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But like, I know people are going to say, oh, you're biased because he's a Gonzaga guy, but I truly think Julian Strother can be a scorer off the bench for a solid team next year. He's going to be 21 on draft night. Today he dropped 28 and 10. He's 6'7" with a reported 6'10" wingspan. So like small forward. Okay, I don't know. Maybe he's slightly undersized, but I think he's small forward size. He's shooting 43% from three and has a good floater. Like when he's run off the line, he can get to his floater, and he's just kind of crafty. Like I think he could play. I wouldn't mind taking him. I would like to take him with our second round pick if he's there. But like a Keontae Johnson, I feel like Eric could be a role player on a solid team next year. I don't know how you feel about Keontae Johnson, but
yeah, it is decent.
Obviously the health scares are like, you don't know, but he's projected 48th on Takeathon, and I think he could be a role player next year. Even like a Jalen Clark, if he's able to recover well from his injury and enters the draft, is just like a really good defender. He's only shot 33% from three, but if he could shoot a little bit better, he could be a 3-and-D guy right away, and he's probably going to go mid to late second if he enters. So there's going to be some guys there in the second round that could potentially be like fringe rotation players next year.
Yeah. In my opinion, this is just me. Like if there's a guy you think is going to be really good, like how old was Herb Jones? Wasn't he like 22 or something?
Yeah. 22, 23-ish.
Yeah, so like those type players, and this year is going to be really weird because I forgot who it was when I was watching a game and they mentioned that someone was 26 years old, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Oh, it was the Memphis game. It was. Oh, yeah. Thanks for reminding me because I'm mad about that game. But
it was
Williams.
Yeah,
whatever.
DeAndre Williams or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like 26, holy crap! Because like I remember like scouting him for a couple of years, and I was like, he's still in like my notes from a couple drafts ago.
Yeah.
But like because of COVID, like people got extra years and then all this other stuff, and they've been really lenient with like medical red shirts and stuff. So there's going to be a lot of older players that are draft eligible this year. I don't know if they're all draftable guys, but in my opinion, if it was close between a couple guys, I'm going to take the younger guy in the draft. And if you want older guys, sign veterans, at the same position, be a free agency and try to get vet help that way. I'd rather do that than sign a guy, unless you're sure, like a Herb Jones, that he could come in and be like a difference maker game one.
Yeah. And I mean, like, there's going to be some good undrafted free agents, Eric. Like, I think Demoy Hodge out of Missouri could be a guy, just like as a 3-and-D guy. Shooting 40% from three this year, 15 points per game, like, nice jumper. Could maybe attack closeouts and play some defense.
Yeah.
But he's going to be one of those older players that he's not going to get drafted. Mm-hmm. But there's always these like older college players that go undrafted that then end up being good NBA players. And they went undrafted because they were older coming out of college. Fred VanVleet's one of those guys. Duncan Robinson was one of those guys. He kind of fell off, but Duncan Robinson was one of those guys. Like, he wasn't even close to getting drafted. There's a number of names where that's been the case, and I've complained about the Blazers not doing a good enough job of finding those guys. Najee Marshall is one of those guys. Like, he's been solid for the Pelicans this year. So there's always these guys. So, like, I'll try and find these guys between now and the draft, and we'll talk about guys at the end of the draft. Everybody wants to talk about the top of the draft, but where you can really make headway is finding rotation players later on, or in terms of undrafted signings, because then you can trade somebody that's already on your roster, and you can consolidate what's on your roster if you have a guy that you got for nothing ready to replace him that's on a cheap contract.
Yeah, for sure.
So, anyway, thank you for the dono. Let me thank the other three. Shout out Kyle Wilson, $5 dono, says, on the trade Dame nonsense, if you trade the most loyal player in franchise history, how could we expect anyone else to stay here in the future? Yeah, I just don't think you want to set that precedent. I don't think that's good for business, especially if it's like, if Anthony Simons ever becomes like a true star and he watched you trade his mentor, I mean, what's to stop him from saying, you know, I don't care to stay here? I mean, Dame was loyal to this place like crazy, and they traded him. So I don't like that precedent. On top of the principle of it, on top of it's not just a clear-cut good decision for the business or whatever. Like, that's why I just won't even discuss it. Shout out Dro, $5 donor says, by wanting to trade Dame, it shows everything about someone's character. Just give the guy defenders/shooters in this draft/free agency. Dame is real. Yeah, it's just how can we get this team to be good enough defensively with them? That's the question. That's why it's like if you could get McHale and Claxton, I would maybe give up everything outside of Grant and Dame for those two guys because I think they would get the defense good enough. So
yeah, for sure.
And then shout out Jacob Sumlin with a $2 dono. Says, should we trade Dame for LaMelo and Gordon Hayward? Well, if you're going to troll, at least you donated.
That's how you ruin a franchise.
I don't know if I'd trade a second-round pick for those two guys if it was possible. Because Gordon Hayward's super injury-prone in a bad contract. LaMelo Ball is probably injury-prone. I mean, I don't know. Like, Eric, you have to wonder with what's going on with Lonzo, and then LaMelo Ball has been injury-prone. Like, there's something potentially just wrong there, either maybe genetically or maybe it was all the hills that they were forced to run as kids or something. I don't know. Like, but both those guys have been injury-prone.
Alvin, you're the type of person who will just say the dumbest things and then we'll have to ban you because we don't want to read your stupid BS in chat, and then you'll be like, yeah, they're so soft they don't allow other opinions. I don't care if you want to trade Dame. What I care about is you making crap up like most fans want to move on and get younger, not have Dame. You and Tori want to build around Dame until he can't walk. Stop saying that crap, dude. Like, it's dumb. Like you're just being ridiculous, dude. Like, we never said that, and we never said anything about not allowing people to want to trade Dame. But most fans want Dame here and love Dame and do not want to trade him. Don't give me that crap that most fans do. And then don't also make up that like business is a business. Oh yeah, you crushed it, dude. You perfect statement. It's like, dude, like you're just saying crap to say it, and then also like,
crap.
We'll win if we trade Dame. We'll never win if we don't. Like, you're just making stuff up. That's not an opinion. You're literally just talking out of your ass. So just like stop doing that and have respectable opinions. Just say, in my opinion, it's best to trade Dame. Don't speak for everyone else, and certainly do not speak for Damian Lillard because you are the last person I would want speaking for him. And if you do not stop doing that, I'm going to have to like remove you from chat because it's getting really annoying, man.
Well, you know what it is? You know what it is that drives me crazy? Is the people that come in here and the crap that they spew is the equivalent of give me attention, give me attention, give me attention. Because their opinions are so freaking bad. Like, you're searching for attention. There's no way you're not searching for attention. If you're not searching for attention, then that's amazing. I don't know. Like, people come in here and they search for attention with the crap that they just fling at the wall. They're trying to get chat talking about them by saying crap like this dude's saying. And then we ban them, and then it's all about, they don't allow different opinion. No, that's not it. We don't allow people that come in here and just try and hijack chat for attention with absolute bullcrap. Because you hijack chat. It wouldn't matter if we responded to or not. With the stuff you've been saying, you're trying to hijack chat and it's BS and you're making stuff up and it's just ridiculous. Like, you can have your opinion. You can have your opinion somewhere else, though. Because trust me, if we let just anyone constantly come in here and try and hijack chat for attention, we wouldn't be able to talk with our stream chat. I like being able to talk with my stream chat. I like being able to read my stream chat and like have conversations with people, even with people who disagree, right? Yep. But the problem is most of the people that disagree, it's a bunch of BS. Like, because I think most reasonable fans have a reasonable opinion on Dame, or are able to articulate it in a way that's better than most of the stuff that we see. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Whatever. Let's do a chat poll, though, to see if you're making stuff up. Do you want to keep Dame, since most people apparently want to move on? And somehow that's not an attention grab by saying that. Like, you actually believe that? I don't get it. Do you want to keep Dame? Yes? No? Chat. Here's your chat poll, okay? You asked for it. There it is.
How quickly can Alvin create like 8 million accounts so he can alter this poll?
Oh, look, most fans want to move on from Dame, but oh wait, look, out of 41 votes, 88% have said they want to keep him. Yeah.
And I guarantee you, like, at least half of the no votes are trolls.
So if you're not seeking attention, then what do you mean by most of the people want to move on from Dame? What do you mean by that? What is the thought process behind that statement? This is now a psych evaluation. And
Dame's literally having the best season of his career, but yet that means that we want to have him in a walker, and when he's old like 40-year-old Dame can't move up and down the court, we'll still be like, nope, gotta build around Dame.
Eric, he said most people outside of Portland. No crap! Who cares? That's even worse. If you're saying that, you're basically trolling and trying to upset chat. Who freaking cares what people outside of Portland want? I don't care what a Philadelphia 76er wants for Dame. I don't care what a freaking Boston Celtic fan wants for Dame. Who freaking cares?
Tori, I'll read this verbatim. Most fans want to move on and get younger team after 10 years of Dame not winning. Does that say most fans outside of Portland?
Nope.
It sure doesn't, Alvin. Shut the hell up.
Yeah, so this is the type of people that will ban them. Will say it's for a different opinion, blah, 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 because they're basically just making shit up.
Now you're just... Jeez, man.
It's just bullshit. It's just bullshit.
Literally read it out twice now, verbatim.
Like, dog, you can't even stick by your own word. That's how crap it is. Thanks for the content, though. Taylor Packer, guess what? That's still not close to most people. And also, that's Rip City Reddit, which is where I would expect the most people that think that to be.
So, yeah, you get very loud vocal minorities screaming into the void.
Yeah, that's where our haters reside. So, like, yeah. I mean, you know what's up, Taylor. You know what's up. Anyway, 88% of people in here want to keep them. Tory banning Alvin permanently before ending the stream going to be crazy. Dude, I'm like not even blocking people on Twitter. I'm not even gonna ban Alvin, man. He'll prove it because he'll come in here next game or the game after and constantly talk about how we should get rid of Dame and because that's what people will do. That's what people have done in the past. Maybe Alvin's the outlier, but
he'll just skip right to the part where in here for the last time because Tori and Eric don't allow other opinions.
Yeah. No, we don't allow you making crap up, throwing crap at the wall, trying to upset and troll our chat, and changing the definition behind the words that you say, and acting like you didn't say something you said. Like it's just not like we engage with it too much. So you're lucky, actually. Congrats. We've engaged with you for the good part of maybe half an hour, 40 minutes. You got the attention. You got a ton of attention. I mean, 186 people in here. Congrats. Like, I think he actually won because he got what he wanted. So, anyway.
Mike Hill asked, where's the Trailblazers two-way players this season? They picked up two guys who weren't ready to play this year, so they're projects, and probably, I mean, if they keep them long-term and develop them, I guess that would maybe be a good decision, but they with all the injuries this year and stuff, they definitely could have used someone that helped them sooner rather than later. So I don't really understand using both of them on those type of players, but it is what it is. But yeah, one of them's hurt now and can't play, and the other was in the G League for a while, got called back up, but he's not ready to play in the NBA.
Yeah, I would love to see them play, but shout out to Gordon with a $2 Singapore donation. What's up, Gordon? Says, I would have Dame here until he can't walk. Shoot me. Yeah, I mean, at some point, obviously, he's going to retire. But at that point, I mean, maybe we have our Chauncey replacement. I wouldn't want to hire him as a coach, though, because at some point, he's going to get fired because every coach at some point gets fired, you know? I want Dame to be our next owner, though. He said in his JJ Redick podcast he's made really good financial decisions, so hopefully he's invested and is a billionaire, and we just don't know.
Those move insoles or whatever become $1 billion company and they sell it to like Nike or something, and then
yeah, that Phil Knight buys the team and then they sell it to Nike, and in turn Phil Knight sells the team to him.
Yeah.
Master plan. I would love it. Dude, if Dame had the money and Dame was owner, he would spend whatever to try and win. Like, you see how hard he's tried to win here. If he is the owner, he would go broke trying to win. I want Dame to be our longtime owner, man. That'd be so sick, and just have him courtside. God, that'd be so cool. But I'll just take any competent owner. Unfortunately, we don't seem to have one. Shout out Hyperprime with the $5 donut. Says, wheelchair Dame pulling up from 30 on the Portland Wheel Blazers would go crazy. Yeah, we can wheel him out there at halftime. 80-year-old Dame. Thank you, Hyperprime, for the $5 donut. Shout out Jackson, member for 25 months. And Ahmad says, God, please let us allow Dewbanks to walk in free agency. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Jackson, for being a channel member. I'm not going to slander Eubanks tonight.
He should not be the backup center next year. Let's just say that.
Oh, my God. We got one. Chat, do you want me to respond to this last absolutely moronic comment in chat, or do you want us to move on from the Dame stuff? I'll do what you guys want. Say yes or no. Yes if you want me to respond to this freaking ridiculous comment. Or no, if you want us to just move on. I mean, at this point, my haters on Reddit are going to go on about how I'm, such a terrible person because of this stream. Like, it's already going to happen. I might as well start talking about college basketball at this point, or my rec league or whatever. Like, screw it. I'm already too far in, right? So, this is the type of stuff that we get. Brenton Jones, please change your last name. He says, Portland fans not only want him to suffer as a player, they want him to be an owner too. You don't know how he feels? Stop acting like you know how he feels. You gotta be trolling. There is no way you are this... there's no way you're... everything I can think about saying about this dude and his comments is too mean. Too mean. Yeah. Too mean. Because, bro, guess what? I would love for him to be an owner. Guess what? If he said, I don't want to own a basketball team, guess what? I would respect it, you freaking moron.
I don't care what Dame said. It's better for him if he becomes an owner.
God.
Yeah, huge difference, buddy, between saying, I would love someone in this role and saying, what's best for this person is to do this.
Yeah. Dude, have some self-awareness. If you're trolling, great job, because that's so ridiculous that, I mean, if it's just an absolute troll, then props. If you're not a troll, bro, you need to take a step back and, I don't know what the next step is in terms of rehabilitating you as a Portland Trailblazer fan, but...
As Kyle says, that's ironically what he was doing earlier, Brenton.
Like, bro, come on, man. Come on, dude. Like, Portland fans... You're saying Portland fans want him to suffer as a player. What?
How do we want him to suffer as a player? He literally just went on a show and said how happy he was with his life, and that it doesn't really matter. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm not even giving you a chance, Tony Soprano. Tony Soprano, you're just freaking ridiculous. You just come in here at the end of a conversation and you're goodbye. See ya. Peace out.
It's always names just we haven't seen before, which makes you think, you know?
Oh yeah, that was definitely one of them.
Yeah. There's always these people that come in and there'll be like two of them. This is how it goes. Go ahead.
And of course, Alvin James. Truth, Tony Soprano, truth, man.
But that's how it always goes. There's like one or two people saying the stuff about Dame. And then after a while, there's always like a name we've never ever seen before that comes in. It's just like, chat's being so unfair to this person. He's just speaking facts and isn't allowed to talk. It's like... and it's always just the most random account. And it's like, bro... And it's always something completely generic like that, dude. It actually cracks me up at this point when I see that, because it happens a lot.
Well, it was one of Alvin's burner accounts he created to vote in that poll, but unfortunately he didn't create enough in time to get it more than 18% or whatever it was.
Man, we're going back to year one with the burner accounts, bro. Brendan Jones says, I do enjoy your streams. We just have different opinions. I'm all respect IDK about them. Bro, if you watch our streams, you know we don't want Dame to suffer as a player. What are you talking about? Like, how do you seriously have that opinion after watching all our streams? How? That makes no sense. Like that makes such little sense. Like, come on, man. How many times have you seen us rage because we don't get Dame enough help? Like, what are you talking about? Oh, man. This is a good reprieve from watching. Oh, I do have a Brenton Jones blocked on Twitter.
I'm blocked by a Brenton Jones on Twitter. So he can't like my opinions that much because he blocked me.
Why do I have you blocked, Brenton? What did you say to me? When did I block you and what did you say? I'm gonna go try and find it. I'm gonna unblock him so I can search it.
Was he in the GC? Yeah, he does sound familiar.
Alright, Brenton Jones. Trevin, you're our investigator. Go find where he got himself blocked by me. What did he do? I'm curious.
What did I do for him to block me? But yet I'm the one that blocks people for other opinions, right?
Oh. That's so surprising. I wasn't expecting to see that item.
Garban wants a shout out because his face is on fire. Yeah, you might want to go pour some water on that or something.
Why is your face on fire? Oh, he's a Steelers fan. It's Brady's burner. I'm just kidding. Anyway.
Oh, it still shows unblocked. I don't know. He said he unblocked me, but as of now, it's not true.
Well, I definitely blocked you for a reason. As I don't just block people for absolutely no reason, like has been said. I'm searching for the insult. I mean, shoot, lately, I haven't even been blocking anyone, Eric. I had that dude call me an absolute idiot. I had multiple people in the last 2 weeks call me an absolute idiot, and I didn't block either of them. One of them was your biggest fans, by the way. One of them was your biggest fans, you know. Nobody can be a huge fan of you and also be a fan of me. It just doesn't work like that, apparently. Anyway. This is what tank streams are going to be for the rest of the year, guys. Are you guys entertained?
There's another donation.
Shout out to Alex Wolf, $2 donut. Says candy necklace bet update. # first super chat. This is not. Wait, this is his first super chat?
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is either. Also, I don't even remember what that necklace bet was about.
I think it was just like we're coming up with things for picks against the spread.
Yeah, but we never actually did it. We can come up with better bets than that, too. He probably deleted his tweet at me. He probably deleted it. Oh, well. I need one of those live streams. All right, AJ, what sort of live talk do you need? Do you need advice? Thank you, Garben. Appreciate you.
Tyler James asks what range you see Mark Mitchell getting drafted. I think it'll be like mid-second rounds. I think that is someone we should look at with our pick there if we keep it. I'm not sure if he's going to come out, though, for sure. He might stay another year, too.
Oh, he says I kicked him out of GC. He just said, I don't know about any GCs. And now he says I kicked him out of GC.
Hmm.
Who added you, by the way? Did Trevin add you? Because Trevin always adds people that he shouldn't.
Yeah. Dame prays on his timeline, but he wants to trade.
Trevin, you can message me what happened. Because you probably, yeah, you don't have a good track record, Trevin. Tori/Eric, where you play games, is there audiences at all or what? For my Sunday league, like, barely. For my Tuesday-Thursday league, no. Not really. Do you have a fan section, Eric?
Not usually. Most of my games are times when my kids are in bed, so my wife has to be at home, so they hardly ever come to any of my games. There's some other teams in our league that have sometimes like 10, 15 people watching. That's probably like the most we get.
Rolo Solo says, trade Dame and put us in the best way to win a title by letting Simons, Sharp, guys like RJ and Mitch Rob on the Knicks for Dame and our pick. Dame's got horrible taste. Portland don't care about you. Bro, okay, I'm actually rooting for the Knicks, okay? Knicks fans, you don't have to sit here and be assholes. I want to root for you guys. You guys got Josh Hart. I recommended Josh Hart to you guys, and he's been phenomenal. So thank me for that, by the way. But let me root for you guys without convincing me otherwise, bro. Why are Knicks fans coming in here? We literally gave you guys a player that's helping you win games, and you're in here trolling? Man, you should be thanking us and looking forward to your playoff run. If you guys are worried about a freaking 13th seed in the West right now that you got to troll, then I'm not a Knicks fan. I'm a Blazers fan telling the truth. Get out of here, liar. Goodbye. Ban.
That's probably Tony Soprano. I don't know.
It's, yeah. There's some combination of, yeah, burners here. Let's see. Go to channel. About. Joined March 18th, 2023. Nice.
So it's
job.
in the last 20 minutes. Yep.
It's literally 12:20 in the morning on March 18th.
So in the last 21 minutes, you freaking joined. Congratulations, man.
you clown.
Yes, of course we know what Sopranos are, Garvin.
I haven't seen The Sopranos, so not.
But
of course.
you know what?
I've heard of
Tony Soprano.
Yeah, Tony Soprano. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
That was funny, man. I didn't even think about how it's only 20 minutes into that day. That's crazy. Yeah. Wow.
That's hilarious.
Maybe like create it a month before you use it. You gotta put more thought into these burners, guys.
Yeah.
The master plan is to make Blazers Uprise / NBA Uprise a multi-billion-dollar company, so you guys can buy the Blazers. Yeah, I mean, if everybody donated $100,000, we'd be there, right? I don't know the math. We did the math one time on that, like how many each of our subs would have to donate. Connor says you gotta have burners waiting in the wings so they look more legit. Absolutely. Like, you guys put all this effort into trolling, but it's like ineffective because you just won't go the extra mile. Like, you can at least throw an avatar on it and make it a week in advance. Like,
Gordon,
Also,
my injury is fine, thanks. But now my groin's bothering me. But that's, yeah.
Dro, I don't have confidence in Gonzaga this year. Marcus says you guys think Dame would take less in the future for the team's cap. Well, like, if we're over the cap, it doesn't really make much of a difference, so no. And he should.
Yeah. It's literally the same percentage, too, so... yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And also, you can't change a contract once it happens, so he can't take less now. Also, there's a new rule. It's called the over 38 rule, which is going to apply to Chris Paul here, coming up, where you actually get limited on how much you can make at a certain age as well. So
Brenton Jones says, good night, stream. Hope we cleared the beef. Bro, I didn't even remember that we had beef, but now I probably will never forget.
I wish I remembered what it was. Yeah,
I know.
That's why I started doing this for a couple things, but like I started writing down when I block someone, like just to remember. Yeah.
Oh, I know. Because all these people supposedly remember exactly how it went down, even though they get it wrong. But it's like, dude, I don't remember. I don't care enough to remember. Trevor remembers everything because he's a robot, but I'm still waiting for his message explaining what his conspiracy theory is. But I don't know why you had me blocked. Probably because I didn't want you in the GC. That's probably what it was. That's like the only way to kick. I don't know. What b-ball league are you playing in, Tori? Sorry if I spelled your name wrong. Just playing in a league. I play in a Sunday league called Vancouver City League. VCO. And then my Tuesday, Thursday one's just at my gym. It's like $60 a month. Does anybody need life advice? We'll end off this stream with that, and then we gotta get out of here because we're like 2 hours and 40 minutes. This stream has really flown by, though. Do you feel the same way?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was the watching basketball all day or what, but...
Run, son, if you really are the writer of that article on Rip City Project, you can go back in the stream and listen.
Who?
Run, son is claiming to be the writer of the Rip City article. Heard us talking about. I'm the writer who I heard people talk shit about a Nurkic article on Rip City Project here.
I don't believe you, but I can't find the... Dang, dude. I can't find the comment. RUNSON?
Yeah, it's not very far from the bottom.
Weird, why can't I see it? Or are you like way up there in chat?
No, it's not very far. Like 20 from the bottom.
Strange.
Maybe
Yeah, I
30.
don't think you're Andrew Hanlon, bro. Also, I follow the writer, he follows me back. So, figured if he had a problem, he could message me. You're trolling, bro. You're trolling. Go to channel. Let's see when it was created. Oh, wow. December 29th, 2022. So, 3 months ago. Well done.
I mean, everything we said earlier applies, whether... But yeah, you could DM either Toria on...
Yeah.
On
DM me
Twitter.
if that's you. Easy. End the stream, guys. No, I want to give life advice, and then I'll end the stream. We need somebody to ask a... oh, we got a life advice question from... AJ Poseidon says, how do I fix my shot form? Videotape it and see what you're doing that would cause your form to be inconsistent and not easily repeatable. And then fix that thing so your form is easily repeatable. Or you can figure out if you're missing left, forward, or left, front, back, or right most often, and then figure out why that is. Also, he asks, what qualifications do I need to ever write for Blazers Uprise? Oh yeah, because we have the website. We weren't even doing based off of qualifications, just as long as it was like well put together.
Just hit me up and discuss a topic that you feel passionate about. I'll let you know if I want you to write about it or not, and then we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, we're very strict on trade articles and things like that. So if you're not very good with the cap and have good trade suggestions, I'm probably going to hate it and will not like it. But, you know, if you have another interesting topic you want to write about, feel free.
Yep. Anyway. Bro, you can't make this up. Oh, God.
We got a DM yet?
No, just the Brenton Jones. I'm a writer. English major. 31 English ACT. I think you guys should let me write. Like, even if that's true, it's hilarious. Like... AJ Poseidon says, but I don't know if IDK, I don't think I'm good enough. Just future stuff if I get good. Yeah, like I don't know. We tried getting it off the ground before. We'll probably try again at some point in the future, at the start of a season. It's just the problem is like the people we did have writing, like at first it's like they really wanted to do it. Obviously, we don't have the money to pay, so it's just people in their free time. We don't have a minimum writing requirement. It's just like if we did try and start it up again, I would just want people that wanted to like write somewhat consistently and just wanted to do it. The people that we've had before either got too busy or didn't seem to want to consistently do it, and that was the problem. So that's why we weren't able to get it off the ground, because we just need to like consistently put out content on there so that it gets ranked on like Google News or whatever, and so that we can get consistent traffic and people know it's a thing. So I got some other things though that I'm working on other than that, so maybe next year. I don't know. It'll be there though. You know, I'm paying the yearly stuff for it still. You guys like the design of the website, by the way? Actually, let me do a chat poll. I'm curious how many people knew we had a website, Eric. I'm just curious. Curious Chapel. Garben says, should I just change my name to Garrett on here or stay as Gar? Obviously, I've never been called Gar in my life until this. Haha. Whatever you want, man. If you like being called Gar, that's fine. I recognize your name. So you could put Garrett and then in parentheses Garben. If you wanted to be called by Garrett and wanted me to still know it's you.
And Barking Box is still in here. He was one of the few that actually tried to follow up and write more articles and stuff.
He was good. He was good. We need more Gabe collaborations. Alex, you're going to be very happy with something.
Well, especially since it'll apply to his Cavs.
Yeah. How would you like me and Gabe to do live streams
Of a Cavs game.
of Cavs play-by-play?
Playoff games.
Yeah, that's a little tease, okay? A little tease. 60% say they knew we had a website, 40% say no. Yeah, BlazersUprise.com. Don't order any of the merch. I need to get new merch because it runs small. So don't order our merch. Watch, that's just like a master marketing ploy, and now we'll get more people than ever. But yeah, that's something coming up in the off season when I can get a hold of Krish, Eric, because I need Krish to design something that I don't think I'm capable of designing, and Krish is just doing his thing, man. I don't know. Hopefully he's doing well though. Gabe as in Sons Gabe? Yes. Yes. Yeah, I'm doing stuff behind the scenes. Like some stuff I can't even talk about. Some stuff I can't even tell Eric about. But it would probably help the channel. So yeah. We'll see. I'm also since we're just on this, I don't know. How badly do you want to get off, like, right now? Because I know we're late. We can end the stream, and I can talk about it some other time if you want.
It's fine. Just go quick.
Yeah, so in the off-season, daily content again is the plan. I did a pretty good job last off-season. Missed, like, 2 days in April and May or something like that. Maybe 3. But gonna try and do it. Not miss any this year, but daily video uploads in the off season, and I'm not planning on doing draft profiles or mock drafts on this channel, so it'll be a little bit harder to come up with video ideas. But I've already planned them through June. Any draft profile stuff or mock draft stuff will be on the NBA channel, NBA Uprise, link in description. But we'll have like player reviews. I want to do like a GM review, a coach review. Maybe I'll leave. Maybe if you want to do that, Eric, let me know. But then reacting to preseason predictions. I did that video last year. I'll do that again. I'll do like a stream highlights, season recap thing. So you guys know how I did my off-season recap with like stream highlights and narration. I want to do that for every season and off-season and put it in a playlist. So like 5 years from now, you could go watch that playlist through and like have like a really in-depth basically summary of the timeline of the Blazers with all the like emotion and thought that went into it. Like just videos chronicling that. So I'm going to do a season recap video like I did the off-season recap. Because I was actually really proud of that video. And I think it'd be cool to just have a playlist chronicling everything. We'll get back to doing mailbags. I'll have me versus Steven 1v1. I'm going in as FDU, Fairleigh Dickinson. Steven is Purdue. And I'll see if I can pull the massive upset. I think it, you know, if you believe in it, it's possible, right? So Rahi says I'm gonna be starting soon. Mariners Uprise happening. Thought you mentioned it a couple months back. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I just gotta find people that want to. Like I'm building out some baseball stuff for somebody I'm helping. So could easily, repurpose that or use that for a Mariners channel. I just don't know enough about baseball to host it, so we'll see. Oh, and Dwight James advocated a Dame trade, says Alvin James. He's back. Shut up, Dwight. You're on a golf cart. Like, Dwight, you're on a golf course. Your house is on a golf course, right? So why don't you just enjoy your freaking golf course, man? Relax. I think Alvin James is secretly Dwight James.
That guy is a Dame hater, and he also loves Olshey. And when Olshey threw Dame under the bus, he had to agree with him to still have that contact. So,
yeah,
for some reason.
We need a best of Angry Reigns video. Yeah, I'll do one for Eric. I've already done one for me last offseason. I'll do one for Eric this offseason. I'll do a prospect watch for each of our 3 picks, like prospects to pay attention to. What the number 1 pick could mean for the Blazers is a video idea. Ideal offseason, that sort of thing. Potential draft pick trades. So videos like that.
Do mailbags too.
Yeah, mailbags too, and me and Eric will alternate them, would be the plan. And so I have videos planned through June. Your 1 highlights video would be cool. Might finally get around to doing that. So got some ideas. So we'll do daily content and just make it consistent so you guys know, oh, I didn't watch the Blazers Uprise video today, and you know something's out. That's the goal. So you guys will actually watch. Or know to watch, or know to check. So, and yeah, we'll have videos talking about any news potentially, but we'll have 2 streams a week on Blazers Uprise, our second channel. Go subscribe if you haven't already. Link in description, and that's where we'll talk about a lot of the news. Aeromancer says the mailbag channel in the Discord is a desolate wasteland. I recorded a mailbag and never released it. I forget why. I don't know, but that will be revived. Anyway, I'm looking forward to the off season where we can just not talk a ton about basketball and just relax and vibe. Because I do enjoy just being streamers, not necessarily just basketball analysts. I do enjoy talking with chat. So 56% of 50 votes said they knew he had a website. 44% said no. So that's interesting. I was just curious. So thank you for voting in that poll. Anything else, Eric?
No, thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate you all, even Alvin and Brenton and Tony Soprano and all of you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great evening. Hope to see you guys Sunday where we can talk about all the same crap again.
Yep. I told you guys are going to make the stream entertaining, and you didn't disappoint, for better or worse. So, I'll rely on you guys to carry the stream on Sunday as well. That'll be a little bit earlier, I believe. What time does that game tip off here?
It's at 6.
It's at 6.
Yeah.
I had it in my calendar. It was 4 or something. I don't know why. So 8:30 p.m. Pacific time, tip-off time. I need to... wait. Hold on. Sunday. So, Gonzaga plays TCU at 6:40 p.m. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not going to be watching that Blazer game. I'm going to be watching my Gonzaga Bulldogs. I'll try and pay attention at times to that Blazer game, but I'm a Gonzaga fan. So, hopefully that game doesn't run too late. How long have the games been lasting, Eric?
It's a little over 2 hours, 2 hours and 10 minutes, 2 hours and 20 minutes usually. Yeah.
So you might have to solo the first 20 minutes of that, because I don't think I can be on stream and watching Gonzaga in a close game.
All right.
They're 4.5-point favorites. We'll see. We'll figure it out. We'll let you guys know. We'll have a post-game stream after the Blazers 6 p.m. tip-off time against OKC on Sunday. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your weekend. If you're enjoying the NCAA tournament, more games tomorrow, more games Sunday, more basketball. Love it. I love it. Anyway, Connor, that's completely fine. I don't care. I don't trust them, but we'll see if they can get the job done. Anyway, this has been the Blazers Uprise postgame show presented by BetOnline. The Blazers successfully lose tonight against the Boston Celtics. 126-112. 6th place lottery odds. 9% chance at our 7'5" savior. We're out of here. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers!